Welcome back to the ALGS rundown with all the big changes happening.
For a quick charge in a fight, but ultimately your cap as you move through the world is tied to your level.
Yeah, Raven, so I'm curious about your opinion on this, because obviously pros are going to have to change the way that they play, especially when contested, like Jay said, or John said. So I'm really curious, do you think that we're going to see teams be way more aggressive off drop to get that upgrade immediately?
So I don't necessarily think that teams should be fighting for like Evo stations, for example. The difference between how the game works now with the crafters is that if you don't get access to a crafter, another team is going to sit there for like 1 to 2 minutes. So there is grounds to fight for it. But these Evo stations, people are going to just like pass them. They're just going to interact with them and just go. So I don't believe that people should be fighting for them. Although I think a lot of the rotates early game are going to be pretty wonky, because now teams are not going to have to sit at a crafter for 2 minutes, right? So they're just going to have to go back and forth between PvE, Evo stations, beacons, bins, everything. So that's going to be really fun, having to see everyone just rotate entirely differently than they have before.
Raven, I'm curious what your ideal legend comp is for ALGS with these changes. And I'll get to John as well. I want to see the differences.
So, okay, there are some standout characters to me. I think Bang is really strong, especially with her ultimate cooldown being out in a blue perk, so she spikes pretty early. I think Bloodhound is also going to be pretty good with a digi nerf. Otherwise, Caustic and Watson are also on my radar, but as a lot of you may know, or maybe some of you don't know, I like to counterpick, so I have to wait for what other people are playing, then I'll let you know. I'll build my comp after that.
Boo! All right, John, how about you?
I generally agree with a lot of that. I think Bangalore will still see a lot of usage. unlike a lot of the people that are fighting her. And especially with the digi-change, like, you'll see some of her offensive capabilities are dampened a bit, but you can offset some of that with a Bloodhound character, or like a Bloodhound pick, especially with like attack cooldown reduction, just keeping those scans up. I think, yeah, in terms of just Fizz blocker, like, she still has the 2 charges of smoke, full cooldown. So yeah, I still see her being a factor. I agree with you seeing Watson as strong. Like, we had fun with those upgrades, because I think there's different ways, even just comp aside, in terms of like different types of playstyles around Watson. Because unlike many controllers, she probably more than anyone like broadcasts that she's taking space, right, with her fences and the gen. Like, you just know that, okay, the Watson team is here. Unlike Caustic, who might lurk in the shadows a bit more. So you have players that are into getting to their spot and letting people know that they're there, and then maybe with the split circuit upgrade, you can kind of be more dynamic within a fight and have 2 sort of strongholds that you can be playing off of, plus ult excel in 3.5 seconds. You could be hitting that mid fight. So I'm just curious to see how players play with the Watson upgrades. I know Sheila's kind of a meme in top levels, but like the improved handling and spin up, like, in playtest, I'm having fun with that. Like, you can feel that, and maybe with the bandolier, like being able to kind of flex into that more ammo management. But if you have bang, maybe you don't need that as much.
Right? So depending on the meta, she could also just pop up as like a counter pick. Otherwise, I'm definitely just going to have fun running at people in ranked with her fiery ball.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely same. Also, I mean, her perk with shotguns is pretty great for the EVA 8 entering the care package. So super excited to see how people play that. I hate that gun, I liked it better with double tap, but you know what, whatever. That's an argument for another day.
I hate that gun too. Something about how it sounds when someone is just ripping off 8 shells at me, and I'm like, just use a real shotgun, you know? Just two pump me with a respectable shotgun. But the weapons team wanted to cook with that one. They created some, whatever the care package EVA is. It's something.
To see a Gibraltar meta come back with shotguns, Raven, what do you think we would see teams do more in terms of legend picks?
Well, I think that Gibby's best role in competitive is as a late game character. You don't want him to be running around in the open on edge. You want him to just sit in the zone, and then when you have to move, bubble out, throw your ult, and live longer than the other teams near you, right? So he's especially like this zone end game character. And I mean, that also kind of fits the whole shotgun thing, right? Like, shotguns are better the closer range you have to get, and that lends itself to late game. So if he is played, that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. But again, we talked about Maggie. If there is too many Gibbies or whatever, we might see Maggie's especially, or maybe she's just played anyways. That's always the biggest threat to Gibby.
We saw in Pro League so far, there was a ton of 30-30 use, right? Almost everyone was running it. But we do know that the 30-30 got a bit of a nerf. So Raven, do we see the 30-30 coming back still in its popularity?
So this is the point where I'm going to just let the pros figure
Loadouts. So there's different ways that we've been thinking about how to work in amongst smoke, because I do like smoke.
It's that time again. The ALGS. We've been on a vacation, but we are back and with a brand new season. Season 20, it was around the corner. It was all the hype, and now we get to see what the pros have decided are the meta and who will stand out in this whole new game we love called Apex Legends. It's match day 6. Let's get going. Welcome, everybody. My name is Rainday. I'll be your host today alongside 2 of my favorites, good friends, and even better casters. I have to say it. These guys are phenomenal. Let's introduce the first one on set. Season 20, my man. It's going down.
Well, I mean, we've been waiting for this moment for quite some time, right? Not just the ALGS coming back, but the fact that we have this fresh new feel about the ALGS. Season 20 has been incredible, and now we get to see the pros really going at it for the first time.
And of course, you're going to be joined alongside the man, the myth, the legend, Dan Gaskin, representing, man. I know you have put together a lot of numbers on this, but also just excited, I'm sure, to see the gameplay.
Yeah, of course. Whenever you get a big change like this in the middle of the season, you're always wondering what's going to happen, which teams are going to benefit from it. The best way to find out is, of course, getting into the action.
Well, what's so fun about this is we get to come back as an audience and even as casters and be excited about what is next. We get to look at the future and kind of still wonder, whereas over the past maybe 19 seasons of Apex, we have really tried to figure out, you know, what could surprise us. Now everything's a surprise, and we are trying to figure out what is going to stabilize. I like that rhyme there. All right, let's get into it because I know the fans at home are watching as well. Season 20 has brought in 100 new perks. That's right, 100 new things to learn in Apex Legends. And while many of you are still learning the names, the pros have been figuring out what is the go-to choice for the characters that they're going to be running. Obviously, you know, Mark, Dan, we've had some time behind the scenes to coordinate our thoughts on what it is with the limited vision of watching scrims. But today is the day that will tell all. And Mark, I kind of want to start with you here because, you know, Season 20 is going to look different on different maps.
Yeah, it certainly has, and I think it's only right that we start on Storm Point, right, and kind of talk through some of the legends we're expecting to see today. This might not be the overall composition, but this is legends that we have certainly seen played in scrims and by some of the pro teams. So you're looking at Bangalore. We know that there's been a little bit of a digi-nerf, shall we say. Thankfully, I think a lot of the pros will be thinking as well. Bloodhound's still going to be very much prevalent, and Valkyrie as well has come back in. But looking at some of the perk trees, this is something that is, of course, new to Season 20. This is what we can expect to see, and maybe some of the picks we're expecting to see when those perks become available. Looking at the first one, you can see ultimate cooldown is always going to be picked by pro players. They want to get access to those abilities as quickly as possible. And then when we go to level 3 and we talk about the purple perk, I think it's a little bit of choice here. We have seen Cover Me become a little bit more prevalent in the last few weeks of scrims, but I still think there's value also in Refuge as well. So Bangalore, the players, depending on, I think, situation, is going to be how that purple perk does go down. Moving over to Bloodhound now to have a quick look at this legend. Not only do they have the ability to hit the survey beacons, which is going to be great for getting early evo, but when we look through the perk tree, we look about what options they have. Tac cooldown is again going to be probably mostly picked, you would expect, when you're hitting blues, just to be able to get that extra little bit of time on your side when it comes to those scans. And then when you're leveling up to that purple evo as well, we're expecting Taste of Blood to be something that teams are going for, just because of the fact that if you're in the fight, you're in your Bloodhound ult, if you can get that knock, you're going to get that little bit extra health to stay involved in the fight. spray, and that is what Bloodhound does best, right? Being involved in those skirmishes and getting those kills for your team. Next up, we're going to look at Valkyrie, who has kind of reintroduced herself to the meta game a little bit. Looking at her perk tree here as well. Afterburners, this is going to be one of the reasons why. That blue perk that you can get nice and early, you can get 15% higher on your Skyward Dive, which means you can get over some terrain that maybe you wouldn't have been able to previously. The purple perks, when that comes up as well around level 3, we're probably looking at full coverage on that missile swarm, which means that you're going to be able to flush some teams out who are bunkering down in towards those end games. You get an extra row of missiles, which is certainly going to be useful to get into those end games. So that's some of the perks that we're seeing. That's what we expect to see. Obviously, there might be a little bit of adaptation from different teams, but Rain Day, I want to talk about World's Edge a little bit because I've missed out the Smelly Man, and he's here at the front.
How can you say that, Mark? Missed out the Smelly Man. If I smell, it's immediately go put some deodorant on in my house. But at the end of the day, in Apex, it's different. You smell and you're around, you work wonders. Caustic back in the meta, at least at a glance for many of us. And we have to take a look at what people are choosing. For me, I was questioning what they would go for, whether Caustic would have enough of a buff in Season 20 to be relevant, but also what would be the choice. It seems like Particle Diffuser is clearly the choice for the first perk, allowing that ultimate area to actually be by 20%. It was 50% at the beginning when these perks were released. It's actually been reduced since the first playtest and now the actual gameplay. The other element about it is Breathe It In, right? Are we playing Breathe It In? I've seen residual toxins actually used quite a bit, which extends the vision of your Nox vision, allowing you to see players as they exit your gas a little bit longer. So some people, like we've seen with auto ping, might be opting for the more strategic element, especially if this is on a support player. But regenning in smoke, regenning in your gas, it seems like those are going to be very hard things to pass up. We'll see what ultimately they decide in today's matches. But Dan, there will be a whole other element besides just the characters they choose that will determine their success in today.
Yeah, the game has entirely changed with armor cores. Evo shields have changed the way that we saw them previously in seasons. You are not going to be able to just pick up a shield out of a bin. Instead, you get given your gray shields and then you have to work towards improving them, whether that be through various different kind of interactions on the map, whether it be through damage, and I'll talk you through how that happens. But for the base, you can see the core is still the same. You're going to be working with X amount of health depending on whether you have blue, purple, or red. The most important thing here is how much Evo you need to hit those levels. Of course, it is going to be quite a big jump from blue to purple. And you may ask, well, how do we do that? If you've been playing the game, of course, you have found various different multi-games, it seems like, to be able to actually get them. Some of the big ones, an Evo Harvester. That's one of the newest additions. You will find them scattered across the map. That will give you 350 points towards your Evo shield. And then you can also find things in perk bins, for example, care package scans that your legends can do. Even a finisher can get you extra on your Evo upgrade. And then you can also find things in the care packages, the Evo caches. Now, it might look a little bit different there. 450, 1,350, it seems like a lot, but basically when you pick up an Evo cache at that armor, you will get given that much Evo armor upgrade. And basically, if you are blue, you will be upgraded to a purple and a little bit more. If you are white, you'll be upgraded to a blue and a little bit more. The later you find an Evo cache in those care packages, it will be even better and even more beneficial. If you see someone with a red armor quite early, they probably found an Evo cache. But this has completely changed the game of Apex Legends Rain Day. People's rotations have changed. Their pathing is now different. People are looking for these harvesters. I've even seen people get to red armors without even shooting another player. Instead, they're shooting the wildlife on the maps, for example. They're almost having little mini side quests. It's incredible.
I was going to say, why are you counting out some guy who might have just done 25 finishers? I mean, there's 100 each. I mean, it's possible. Anything is possible now. You know, one of the things that Apex touted as this system adjusting for players is the flexibility of how you like to play Apex. For pros, we know that they're going to pick the most streamlined and effective way to do this. So if you are curious to blend that gap of what you know and what they're going to do, this is a great place to be at the start of Season 20 in our Pro League. But let's talk about all this gap time, the time we took to learn Season 20 and figure it out. It wasn't just learning mechanics, learning legends, and learning the meta. It was learning which team needed to be present for the rest of this split, because as we enter in match day 6, the back half of our round robin, we are our second round robin with only one left to go. We have seen roster changes that have, for many, been simple, but for some been massive. Tyler FPS notably joining Orgless and Hungry, previously played with Unlucky and Matafe, and they actually added Matafe as an IGL into that squad, and they were a credible force online. They just weren't able to get it together in LAN. Unlucky stayed, but at this moment in time, with the departure of Yuki from Alliance, is now joining Alliance. Can they make things happen? Obviously, Urban joining, Cold as well, Romanov, Tryhard Thor, Joe making some moves to Exo, Cybercats, and Lasite de France. But the most important, maybe the biggest highlight here is the story of Tyler FPS and Unlucky, former teammates, now on a old team and on a new team, trying to make it happen in Season 20. We had a chance to talk to them before today's show and see what their thoughts were.
Hey guys, I'm Unlucky and I'm playing for Alliance. I'm playing with Effect and Huckis together and our coach is Snuff. So 1 week before the third match day, Huckis DM'd me, we need a third because Yuki is quitting. So I asked him how much time I have. I have 1 day at time because of the roster lock. So I said I'm gonna play out with OH for the last match day, and after that I join you guys. Pretty good. We played 1 week of scrims till now. But this week went pretty good, and we got 4 times top 1 and 1 time top 2. So I'm overall pretty confident going into this weekend with the boys. And yeah. Definitely learning the get to know the boys for sure. This 1 week was pretty good overall, but I was like really excited and nervous at the same time because joining a big org as Alliance and incredible players like Huckis and Effect was very challenging for me, but I think I'm doing pretty good, and I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Hello, I'm Tyler FPS from Orgless and Hungry, and my 2 teammates are Matafe and Kinda. Matafe just basically DM'd me and said that they needed a third because Unlucky left for Alliance, and it's a no-brainer. Matafe is a top 5 IGL, if not the best IGL in our region, and I decided to take the opportunity. Me and Matafe used to be teammates back in early 2022. I played with someone called Unlucky, who's now on Alliance. We formed a team called Bosch, and we was looking for an IGL. So Matafe was our third. We had great results. We were top 2, top 3 in our region. And then we went to LAN, and obviously it wasn't how we wanted it to go. And I ended up joining E6, Element 6 for the champs. And now I'm back. They're going really good, actually. We used to have like a saying when I was before on the team. We always used to have this thing called the second place curse. We'd always end second, and that seems to be back. We seem to be getting second a lot. We recently played a tournament and we ended second, 1 point behind too. So it's pretty funny, but yeah, it's going great.
Obviously, so great to talk to Tyler FPS. He's a real charming guy, Mark, and you know you could tell that he's excited to play and willing to put his work in.
Yeah, for sure. And he's joining a teammate, Matafe, that he's had previous success with, right? And I think feeling comfortable on a team is something that is very important, and nothing is going to make you feel more comfortable than knowing that you can achieve what you did previously with those teammates. So very excited to see Tyler back. He was one of the highlight players online in the EMEA Pro League in recent seasons. So I think that he's going to feel comfortable again, and I just want to see him back to form.
Yeah, I think both of these players can make a big difference to their teams. Also, is it something about Alliance where you have to have that hairstyle? I mean, Yuki leaves and now Unlucky has it as well. Mark was making fun of me last time. It seems like it's part of their contract is you've got to look good.
I think that is. I mean, Dan, I don't know. Do you have a side partnership with whoever's signing those deals for the hair? I don't know, man, but maybe. Everybody's looking good over here. Sure. I got to start growing my thing out, by the way, guys. You know, we'll figure that out in a second. Mark, we might have to leave you behind for a moment. All right. Let's go into it because match day 6 is about to start. You know, we've got such a great lead up to this, and it's been played on a completely different season, but heading into now, we've seen teams perform, and the teams that have performed have clearly set themselves up for success for this back half of it. You know, going into the standings currently, it's been really the story of the return of Hardeki. I mean, this was a player who was synonymous with EMEA as a region. It was synonymous with Pro Apex and one of the stars. We were asking, remember guys, Hardeki or Hal? Let's see them go against each other at LAN. And it was, once the LAN season started, really an unfortunate situation of teams, timing, and things that he couldn't control. But now he's back in the driver's seat with Aurora. Element 6, 07 right behind them, some familiar faces in Orgless and Hungry, who we just shouted out, rounding out our top 5, the top 10 here. But Mark, you know, still these teams in the 10 through the 20 page here have a chance and are currently looking like they have the ability to qualify for these playoffs.
Yeah, this is the teams who are in touching distance, right? And you're looking at Alliance. They've made that team change. Unlucky comes in, and he said at the start of his interview, "Hi, I'm Unlucky." I'm sure he's not going to want to say that when it comes to the end of this split and Alliance don't make that LAN event. But they have a lot of firepower now, and I'm sure with the addition of Unlucky alongside Effect and Hackers, they're going to be looking today to really force their way into the top of those standings. Elsewhere, you've got the biggest thing to talk about is how tight it is between 11th and 20th. There's only kind of less than 10 points between all of these places. So after one game day, all of these positions can change.
Yeah, and then of course you go into the not so fun positions, 21st and below. And quite a few of our teams that are competing today do feature in these 10. So it is going to be imperative that they find success here if they want to be able to give themselves a chance to get to LAN. You can see, even with 4 series played, Minder down there, like that is not a great place to be. But for teams like ESG, like TSM Phoenix, they've only played 1 less series, so they're going to have that opportunity to kind of propel themselves up the leaderboards. There are a few teams that maybe I was expecting to be a little bit higher, but you've got to prove yourself today. It's kind of do or die moment. We're getting to that period of time here in Pro League where if you don't make it today, you may just be trying to play catch up too late on.
And it's going to be about 66% of the time gone after today. So that means that for groups B and C, it is do or die in nearly all intents and purposes. You can see we have some big names though. Aurora, they're not going to want to slow down their pace. They will look to stay at the top of the leaderboard. But Alliance, with their new addition of Unlucky outside of the drop of Yuki, the retirement of Yuki, who, what a phenomenal player. Big shout out on broadcast to everything Yuki has done. But you can see Orgless and Hungry here, 3 huge names already competing, but watch out for Team Portugal. TSM Phoenix, we know they've had only 3 match games played. This is their 4th. That would be massive if they can get in the top 5. It would certainly put them within our top 20 and maybe close to our top 10 if they could do it. So many storylines to unfold here, and Season 20 brings so many different things to pay attention to and watch out for in the ALGS. I cannot wait. And of course, there are no 2 better casters to start things off here than Onset and Gaskin. Boys, take it away.
I tell you what, Dan, it's been quite a wait, but it is a wonderful feeling, I have to say, a re-energized feeling for everybody who's watching at home, and I'm sure for both of us as well, knowing that we're going into the first game day of Season 20, a new game, and maybe some new runners coming to the front.
Yeah, and I'm very excited just to kind of see what people pick for perks. I know that perk trees, for the most part, are quite standard now. Most people are picking the same thing, but it's kind of the what if in my head of what if a perk is selected here or there? What difference could that make in the end game? And I guess we're just going to have to see. Now, the biggest change from kind of the first half of Pro League to the second half is we're going to be starting on World's Edge now. So instead of Storm Point being the kicker off, instead we're going to be going back to the old familiar, the old trusted.
And we certainly are indeed. And with World's Edge, obviously, we're going to have to talk about some new ideas that we've seen coming through from teams as well about how they want to level up those Evo cores, how they want to get into the game, how they want to approach it, depending on where their POI is, what their POI is, and where that end circle, of course, is going to be going as well. And one thing we haven't even touched on at this point is, of course, there's been some adjustments in the weapon meta as well. So expect to see some different guns. The R9 might be going to sleep for a little bit. It might be vault time when it comes to those SMGs. But the good news is that Digi is a lot more quiet than it was, Dan. But we're certainly not going to be quiet today, everybody. It's time to get into match number 1 here. Season 20 is here, and the ALGS is back.
I don't know what you're talking about. Give me the RE45 with a Digi every day of the week. I love that thing. It's incredible. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple pick it up, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, looking at World's Edge and EMEA here, we may have a couple of contests going down. I'm looking at Tree. I'm looking at Overlook. If that does happen, how is that going to influence things? Aftermath, 202. Pest Control and Vex are the 4 teams that are being contested in this first set of maps. So that could really affect their chances of being able to find any promise. But one of the benefits of early contests with the new Season 20 changes is you are probably going to be on blue if you win that fight. Almost guaranteed to be on blue if you win that fight. So there is a slight benefit there.
I would also say that the contests in general are a little bit more even, right? Because of the fact that someone isn't going to drop on a purple armor and go, hey, all of a sudden we've got extra HP, we're winning this thing. It's a much more even fight on contest, which makes them A, little bit quicker, and B, a little bit more predictable. The fighting team is usually going to come out on top of them, but we'll see some of the picks coming in here and looking across. No surprise to see the likes of Bangalore, Valkyrie, Bloodhound, and then we're also seeing a few off picks already. And where I say off picks, shall we say less popular? We're seeing Lifeline potentially being picked. We're seeing Crypto in there as well, and of course, a little bit of Caustic as well, Dan. So Season 20 throwing some spanners in the works already. I'm very excited to see how the Lifeline picks in particular.
Yeah, I don't think the meta has quite settled just yet. No one is picking the same 3 legends across the board. We are starting to see a little bit of variety here and there. And I mean, Lifeline would be a very interesting one indeed. Of course, the ability to change her personal drop package to an actual care package with a red weapon, plus potentially one of those Evo caches, could be massive towards the end game or even the mid game if you're able to do that. So I understand the pick of Lifeline if it does happen. But of course, we might see the meta start to settle. This is where we could be seeing our first contest going down. It's over towards Overlook.
Well, it's going to be Aftermath who are going to win the Battle of the Drop, it looks like, and it looks like they're going to be able to land first and pick up some guns. And I said the R9's dead. Well, it's certainly not in the hands of Amstel here as it gets taken out of his by the Bloodhound of the teammate. But interesting to see how this fight goes down. And like I mentioned, contests are going to be a little bit different to previous, Dan, just because you aren't going to be able to just luck out, find yourself an upgraded armor and be able to take the fight quickly.
Yeah, indeed, and we're not seeing as much Conduit. I know Conduit is still appearing here or there, but it certainly isn't as prevalent as it was, so these fights are going to be a little bit more even. But if a Conduit does appear, then you are going to have a significant advantage in that fight for sure. But you're completely right, and also why it's not as bad with the contest going down, because if you do win this, you get the squad wipe, which does give you the Evo upgrades, and you're going to be in a far more beneficial position than you may have been previously.
Interesting to see if anyone tries to hit the ring console or if they have the ability to, because that's going to give them a little bit of extra Evo, and if they can do some poke damage off the back of it, then they'll be able to get up to blue armors nice and quickly. But for now, you can see the high ground is taken up on the silos, and it looks like both teams might have just left each other to it for a few seconds. The Evo Harvesters are now alive on the map as well. They are live, so you can see that Kurev has decided, hey, let's try and get some blues ourselves.
Yeah, it spawned just southwest of Overlook here, so both teams probably saw that pop up and thought we could have a little race towards it. And this may give a significant advantage because it puts Aftermath straight onto blue because they get the 350, which pushes them up. They'd already opened enough bins, etc., to be able to do so. And now they can try and get aggressive on this fight because they assume the other team's going to still be on white armors.
Interesting to see if LVH decide to go back for this or if not. Now, just looking at our map overhead that you can see, it's looking like we might be going towards Tree or maybe a little bit further towards Thermal Station. There is that information from the ring console, but you can also see where those Evo Harvesters are, and it gives us a little opportunity while we have everyone alive in the lobby, Dan, to talk about the idea of pathing and the fact that teams had set rotations that they would try and do depending upon zone in previous seasons, but now they will change and the timings will change based upon having to go out your way a little bit more for those Evo Harvesters.
Yeah, I mean, I joked in the pre-show about side quests, but essentially it is a bit of a side quest. You have to change those pathing ideas and ideologies a little bit just to get more of the Evo shield. And look at this as well from TSM Phoenix. Just making sure you scan those care packages. That's 50 extra Evo every single time you scan one. So that's 100 just as free as that. We are going to be seeing teams trying to utilize any way of upgrading their Evos so that they can have that advantage when they do get into a fight. TSM Phoenix also changed their rotation slightly there. They made sure they pathed their way through so they could hit the Evo Harvester at the same time, and now they're on their way to purples.
And you're probably thinking, well, why does this matter, right? In the bigger picture of things, they're still making a rotate. Well, what it means is certain teams who might have been used to bumping into each other in certain locations in and around World's Edge or Storm Point, they're going to find that there might be a few different teams in the vicinity because they've had to go out of their way, and maybe a choke that they'd be able to hold before won't be available because of the timing that kind of throws them off. So there's a little bit of an unpredictable kind of feel to some of the rotates now, which I've got to say, I kind of love.
Yeah. I like the idea of teams we haven't seen fight in certain areas fighting now, and we will see ambushes attempted to be set up around Evo Harvesters as well. I've seen people kind of grab one, then sit in the area, wait to see if anyone's going to just freely pick it up, because usually a single player is going to dart towards that Evo Harvester, pick it up for the team, and if you can pick them off, then that might end up being a squad wipe, because you suddenly get the player advantage, and you can push on that afterwards. But everyone's starting to make their journey from east to west as we head down towards the southwest side of the map. As we saw earlier, we're going to be going towards the area of Thermal Station. We know Alliance dropped down towards Thermal. They did have a ring console as well, so they're going to be more than happy at setting up in that area.
It's going to be fascinating to watch how these games progress, and we are seeing Watson in the composition here of stay healthy as well, and the idea of, hey, are we going to play for 2 gens? Are we going to play for the single gen with more HP? And we were kind of looking at it and we were trying to work out as well Theorycraft before the season even got underway. And I think the 2 gens is nice, shall we say, and maybe something that is an option if you're playing from a POI that's pretty close to zone, but also just having the extra HP on the gem. We know how strong that can be, and I just feel that's going to be a more consistently, I would say, something that's giving you value more consistently as a perk in opposition to the 2 gens itself.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of interesting decisions that have to be made elsewhere. Team Portugal at the moment seem to have lost one. Postkill is going to be able to at least get that gen down, though, so they're going to be able to try and fight as they may. Just got to be very careful, because if you are going up against a 3 here, then the push could come through, but it doesn't matter. It's not a 3. It is a 2 down there, and the alternator's doing work.
Shots coming in, but no, not coming in. Kashera's still on his back, and it looks like he might be out of the fight for quite some time at the moment, although they are trying to stick the res inside of the bathroom, which is never somewhere that you really want to have 2 people at once, but Team Portugal will hold, and that is some nice shots coming in from the alternator to do exactly that. So this is an interesting composition, and this is something that I think Team Portugal and Kashera, they've been all about in previous seasons, if they feel like this composition is going to work for them again.
Well, you've got everything you might need, but don't quite get the knock. That's everything you wanted, but it looks like there is going to be assistance coming from elsewhere, and there we go. The Forge get eliminated, our first team out of the lobby here. It took a while for a team to get dropped, and I think, again, that shows us how people are playing the game at the moment. People kind of avoiding fights, trying to find those Evo upgrades before they get involved in an engagement, or until they are forced into an engagement. Now, the benefit for Team Portugal is they're going to be on to purples, and one of the few teams at the moment who have been able to Evo upgrade that way.
Another look at the map overhead here, and you can see some teams who might be pathing their way to some of those Evo harvesters. We're going to keep our eyes to see it as well, if any teams are going to be picking up those red armors a little bit earlier than others by finding a little bit of care package with a nice looking car battery full of Evo on it as well. But I mean, you just saw that fight being won by Team Portugal, and it's an important one as well, because they have the southern side of the zone right in that corner, but they are going to have to go a little bit more north, and Go Next are in a great spot. And one thing we haven't even mentioned, Dan, is just how tight the leaderboards are at the moment. A lot of these teams, you kind of mentioned in the overall standings, need points. They're in this lobby today.
Yeah, you've got a few teams who are kind of down in the 20-plus positions, and if they do find themselves there after today's matchups, it's not looking so great, because they weren't able to find points in the other matchups previously. So it has to happen today for me. A team like Pest Control, I mean, a 2 at the moment, but we'll have to see whether they can get the job done a little bit later. You also mentioned that Team Portugal are going to have to move a little bit north. You're completely right. I mean, we saw the circle was pulling slightly towards the central of Thermal Station, where Alliance are currently set up, but all these teams that are traveling from the outskirts at the moment are finding themselves in a tight spot, because a lot of the choke points are being held by squads at the moment, meaning you're going to have to try and go over the top of them. But because there's not room to play really in Thermal Station, there's a lot of lava, there's a very kind of a lack of space to be able to position yourself, so you've really got to be thinking about where you're going to go. And at the moment, TSM Phoenix have another squad residing right next to them.
TSM Phoenix trying to force their way in and around the building at the moment. Kyrie looking for some shots herself, but can't quite find the opening at the moment, but does have the disruptor rounds to really shred away at some shields if she needs to on that alternator. At the moment, it's stay healthy. You're inside of the building, and the Watson fences, as always, the classic of being able to hold down those doors and make the push a little bit more stalled. And if you're a TSM Phoenix on the outside of this, the longer it takes, we always talk about the option for another team to come in and do damage, makes stay healthy's job a lot more easy.
I will say we're not seeing as much caustic as we've been seeing in North American scrims, for example. Watson seeming to creep up a little bit more. I always love the difference between EMEA and NA in terms of composition picks. I'm sure that will develop as we get further and closer to playoffs. But TSM Phoenix are more than happy just to say, okay, well, we'll take the smaller, less desirable home here. It's cheaper in rent, and we're more than happy to be here for now.
Yeah, you can keep your 4-bedroom detached. We'll have the 3-bed terrace. It's fine. We don't quite have the budget available, but TSM Phoenix, who have just got into this position, are going to be bunkering down for a few moments. They don't have information of where that next zone is going to be going, but we'll jump into a listening and see what their decisions are going to be.
So we should kill them.
If
like,
we can get an entry, I'm down to fight them. I'm changing one more thing.
Yeah. I don't have it, like, loot. Like,
I don't have heals either.
Just keep shooting, yeah. So we have to.
One side. Okay. Please can us.
They have a Bangalore, Bloodhound.
Watson. Yeah.
Let's the demon hide them. So...
You just got Bloodhound, and I'll follow you.
Okay. I think we're gonna like fight them right now.
Well, it looks like they want to take the fight here, Dan. The blood ult is going to be the go button, so to speak.
Yeah, TSM Phoenix, of course, going through a change this week as well. So excited to see kind of how they progress as a squad. And, you know, I want to see it. I want to see a go button press. I don't mind taking a risk every now and then if you feel like you have to take it. And if they have the ring console information, or if they feel like the zone is moving away from them, then sometimes you do have to take that risk. Now, as we look elsewhere, we are starting to see purples creep up. People have done their side quests. They have achieved the extra Evo upgrades. And people are going to be more than comfortable now to take the fights when they have purples.
Continue with main story. I love that.
Yes, focus.
Aftermath are going to be holding out LVH at the moment, who we did see potentially trying to be contested off their drop, but looked like both teams were able to kind of share that loot path. Now we're going to see a lot of utility being used to try and force this fight in the initial damage. LVH have forced back Style, which is going to force them to pop a battery for now, but Bavis is going to get that first knock onto Vipes, and you can also see the Conduit ult is down as well, so Aftermath kind of stuck in a corner here, but they did get that first knock, which should allow them to reset.
Yeah, so annoying when Conduit ult goes down because it's just, they're so healthy, so much damage you have to input into one of those devices to be able to just push your way through. So it is a great barrier, but now TSM Phoenix have got engaged in this fight. They have decided to push, but it doesn't look like it's going so great. They were able to get one knock on to stay healthy, but it looks like it's a 2 versus 1 now, and it's going to be cleanup crew wiping on in to finish things off here, and TSM Phoenix will be eliminated as another few squads fell. 16 squads now remain, make it 15, because Aurora will pick up the pieces.
If you had to ask me who just came in to clean that up, I would pick Aurora every time. They are always in a position to third a fight that breaks out. That is a fight that may not be necessary in a good spot. You know, TSM Phoenix trying to force that fight. But Aurora are always waiting for the opportunity to come in third and clean up the easy KP, and that's exactly what they do. Perfect timing coming in from them as we jump back over to Aftermath, who we just saw holding out LVH. And I tell you what, Bavis got the knock with that Eva 8, and he's got it in his pockets. First time we're going to see it in a little bit ALGS, and let me tell you, Dan, if you're on the receiving end of it, it's not fun.
It is not fun. Do you know what's also not fun? Is going up against a team full of reds. La Cite France having a full red Evos right now, so they've done fantastic. Look, only 164 damage for Psychop, by the way. Like, they have been charging their way through the map, whether it be Evo harvesters, whether it be care packages, whether it be finding bins. They've just been doing work to make sure they are at their most healthy and in their best position. It looks like they have a squad wipe alongside that as well, so it's not like they haven't fought anything. Also, going to touch on, I'm fairly certain it was Aurora with the lifeline. They had a red armor as well, probably through the lifeline care package, being able to upgrade that later, and they may have a wingman or an Eva 8 alongside that. So that's very exciting for Aurora. It is great to see different legends coming into the selection here.
Yeah, I think Lifeline definitely has value, and not only that, of course, just being able to res in the middle of a fight, just get someone up while you still have your gun up. But Aurora, they're getting a knock in the kill feed as well, but ESG, they're having to force their way into zone right now, and they're looking for the drop onto the team underneath them, but it's looking like a little bit of an awkward fight at the moment, but awkward is good enough for them. Orglis and Hungary will fall. Tyler will not get the return that he would have wanted in his first game, but the question is, can they get Blast back up here? Are they going to be able to hold for him? It's the Caustic that's down as well, which, as we know, if you've got the Caustic in the end game, that's great, but once again, who's coming into third? It's Aurora.
Yeah, Aurora going to want to try and push up on this one and try and increase those Evos a little bit more. Hardeki on the lifeline. I love this, by the way. I love this comp. I love that we're seeing people experiment a little bit. You've also got the support legend coming in through lifeline as well, so if things do go wrong, you can still create those banners and you can still reset a little bit. Now, we are seeing the circle move just slightly south of kind of the hill house buildings that are over towards thermal station, so Go Next are in one of the primary spots at the moment.
Interesting, I mentioned earlier that if you were to ask me who's the team who's going to come in and third party and win, it'll be Aurora. If you asked me if Hardeki in 2024 would be playing Lifeline in the ALGS, then I would not give you such a positive answer. But one thing I can guarantee is that Iron Impulse is still dirty when he's got a gun in his hand. He hits big shots, and that'll be Aurora trying to force this fight again as Orion jumps in to the Beast of the Hunt.
Beast of the Hunt, and of course, did choose the perk selection, will get 25 HP per knock if his HP has gone down, which, in a Caustic meta, by the way, very important, because your HP is going to be depleting, not your shields, if you are amongst that gas, so that's something to be focusing on as well for Bloodhounds, as we're seeing a lot of teams now around the donut building here, and with only 11 squads left, as this next circle is beginning to close, it's crunch time. Everyone's going to be forced together.
Well, three players who know each other extremely well. Team Cold, JMW, Graceful, rejoined by Urban now. And in a pretty good spot towards this end game. The only issue for them, though, is they're going to have to hold out a lot of teams who are trying to force their way onto them towards this end game. You see they're kind of just poking through the window saying, hello, we know you're there. They do have the caustic barrel down on that door, which is going to make it a lot easier for them to navigate. And you can see Aurora just cleaning up pieces at the moment. It just feels like an Aurora day today. When I looked at the lobby, I was like, these guys are very aggressive. They like to clean up and be the third-party nuisance. And with some of the, I would say, the placements that we're seeing from some of the teams in this lobby, it might be a fun day to be an Aurora fan.
Do Aurora try and get out of this one? It looks like they are going to be taking the balloon here just to get up. I love it as well. Just to say, all right, if there's a team above us, let's just try and help out the other squads that were doing damage from a distance. Aftermath get eliminated. We've got teams like Team Portugal who are on height. La Cite de France are on height. Go Next are also in a very valuable spot at the moment. All these teams that are down low are going to be forced together at once, so it's going to be difficult to try and stay as a full 3.
Well, Alliance, what a big day it is for them. The new pickup Unlucky is going to be on our screens right now. They've got a rotation to make here. They've got to try and force their way towards zone. Let's jump into the comms and see what the plan is.
One is knocked.
I'm watching our back, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't. We just keep scanning it. Keep scanning it. Yeah. We gotta carry lava though. Lava's gonna 3p that.
Yeah, right side channel 3p, I think.
Yeah, we just need to watch the right side. Right side needs to die soon.
Yeah.
Just hold that. Make sure they're not into our shit.
I cannot play in height.
It's fine. We're not in here, but we're probably gonna 3p left side here. We're gonna play like close. Let's go that way. We're gonna play close here, and then we're gonna 3p left with it, okay?
That side walking up. Careful.
They should not leave. They should not leave. I'm watching right side right now. You guys watch.
Alright.
I think we need 2 on right here with me. 2 on right with me.
So what's the play? What's the play? What are we doing next?
We're
in here, bro. We're actually chilling, yeah.
Yes, that's what I mean. We chill here, and then we probably 3p left side. Like, it's gonna be a fucking fiesta over there.
Drop. I like it.
Yeah, here, one.
There's only one team mushroom.
I want to. Yeah. It's only one.
I'm just smoking right side.
Yeah.
Tommy's right side has a fuck ton of space here.
I know.
Team Island. Fight mushroom, I think.
Well, lights get up to purples, and this is one thing to keep you right. ESG eliminated in the meantime. If you have zone, getting those shields up towards the end game so vital, and Alliance are in a good spot here, Dan.
Yeah, speaking of keeping an eye, Unlucky actually choosing full coverage instead of Taste of Blood for Bloodhound's perk tree, just to get that double tack, kind of full body scan, and making sure you can just get even more information just for an extended period of time. We'll see whether it helps Alliance towards this end game, but they are in a sticky spot, but so are Cold, and they are having to force themselves down. They do have the caustic to work with, though, but now as the circle closes, this is where legend selection is really going to be imperative here. This is where things like caustic, like a Bloodhound, for example, they're going to be the key legends in these final fights for the extra vision that they have.
Oh, speaking of vision, not a lot of it here for Freaks. He goes down as an EMP goes off, a Blood Owl goes off, a Bangalore Owl goes off as well. And now ExoClan seem to have the sole survivor from this fight on this side of the map. 8 squads still remaining here. You can see that Alliance also in the kill feed themselves. Cold eliminated as Young Hong Kong clutches up for ExoClan.
Is going to be able to survive for a little bit there as well, but whether it's going to be for long is the real question, as Team Portugal, who I said are on height, are currently being absolutely melted. Everything's being thrown at them. Kashira can't even look left or right without being singed by something.
Team Portugal survived, though. I'm not quite sure how you saw a Horizon ultimate coming in. You saw the thermite, which was cooking away at every single hair on their body, but they survived, most importantly. But they are going to have to leave that high ground in a few moments' time. Aurora in a great spot. The only team at the moment who have full red armor, and that could make the difference towards the end game.
Yeah, so it is going to end down low here. So the teams that are up on height who are kind of sitting pretty are going to have to drop down eventually. And as you mentioned, Aurora are already on the lower side, so they can kind of walk towards that circle. But of course, there's going to be a lot of vision from the teams that are up above as someone goes for a suicide dive into the lava, and Aurora just clean things up.
Yeah, Hardeki just giving him a haircut on the way down as well. A nice little 95 headshot with that wingman. La Cite de France now, they're going to take on Team Portugal and win that one as well. And of course, I stand corrected. I said that Aurora were the only team with full red Evos. We forgot about LCDF. They have the full red Evos as well. But Alliance, what a game this is for them. A great zone, of course, dropping here at Thermal Station, but the ability to convert is in their hands.
Well, La Cite de France have just lost one. That's big for all the other squads, but they might be able to get a res here because there is no vision from any of the other teams, and they should be able to get back up to a 4-3, and they had the gold knockdown shield as well, so this is not the end of the world. But now it's about where do you go from here? You've got to drop, but maybe you need to use some smoke just to get the vision cleared of other teams here.
I mean, one thing they could do is drop down and use that gravitational lift from Horizon just to bop and weave a little bit longer than if they didn't have that for their availability. They're going to drop down right now. Zidane takes quite a lot of damage. They're trying to play the head glitch here, and there is that Horizon Q to get them up into the sky. Infinite will be taken down in the meantime. Alliance in the kill feed as well. Hardeki all on his own. It will be Aurora eliminating 2 squads remaining, and one of them is Alliance.
The Cité de France versus Alliance. And of course, this is Alliance home. This is their territory, and they want to push on their advantage here, and they're trying to, but they can't find them right now.
The game of hide and seek. Someone's going to have to drop. It's going to be Le Cité de France. The question is, do they have the Q available? It looks like they don't from the horizon, which is going to make this a little bit of an ugly landing. Alliance in position to clean this one up. Effect, it's all up to you, but no, he can't do it. And Le Cité de France come through in game 1 here in EMEA with the first win of season 20.
And I wonder, were Alliance kind of baited out by the res there? They thought that maybe there was going to be a res, so they instantly sent themselves, but they couldn't find Le Cité de France anywhere, hiding on top of the pillar, and then it was just a matter of dropping and picking their moment. They had the advantage because they were able to engage first, get that initial damage, and then at that point it was just following up and making sure everyone hit their shots and they were targeting correctly.
Yeah, amazing performance from Le Cité de France in that first game. Taking the first must feel good, right? Just to say, yeah, you remember season 20? Yeah, you know, Pro League restarted. Yeah, we won the first game of that. Like, it's confidence, right? It makes you feel like maybe this is our season. This is my year. But Alliance, I think it's important to talk about that story as well, Dan, because Unlucky joins the team. We've seen them struggling a little bit in the first 2/3 of the season. Yuki leaves. Of course, we're always going to miss Yuki and his clutch factor, but a great zone for them, of course, in game number 1, and they're almost so close to being able to convert it into a win as well.
And it's important that when you do get a zone that pulls your way to where you drop, to an area you know so well, that you capitalize on it. And okay, it's not a victory, but a second place plus kills, they're going to be more than happy with being able to just start that way. And it just relieves a little bit of pressure for Unlucky, to be honest. When he saw that zone pulling his way, he was probably, all right, thank God. I can at least just relax. We can have a nice, easy circle here for my first game, and then we can push forward. I think that Alliance will probably kick themselves a little bit if they watch that one back. I'm confident they assumed that a res was going down because they saw that the res had kind of been put down. The mobile respawn beacon was there, and that perhaps was a little bit of bait, but they certainly kind of full sent it, and then they just couldn't find the other team, which is always going to be a bit annoying.
It's almost that comedy feel, right? When you're watching it in third person, it's like, well, you know, they're up on the pillar, but yeah. Alliance don't have that information. Maybe didn't have the Bloodhound scan in time, used it in the previous fight, but I mean, it's impressive, to say the least, from Le Cité de France. And I think one thing to talk about, Dan, is the Red Evos as well, right? It's something that we didn't talk about. The Red Evo cores, Alliance have purples going into that final fight, and their opponents have reds. That can be the difference in those final moments.
Yeah, I mean, extra, 25 shields is going to be massive in pro gameplay. So even if it's just like that extra little bit of a bullet or any sort of extra damage you'd be expecting, it can be massive between these two teams. And we saw it very early on from Le Cité de France. They were able to get reds earlier than I think any other team. I don't know how their journey was, what kind of pathing they took, but that would certainly be interesting to watch back and see what kind of route they take so that they can get so much shields in the early game.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff from them. And I think they're certainly going to be a team to watch. I feel like they've been heating up previously in the last few game days that we had seen. And they're in a good spot in the overalls, but I feel like a good day today could really fill them with confidence to push it to that next level. But just while we're waiting for the results to come in, I think it gives us, we saw a really good kind of dichotomy and an example there of what it's like to have to play zone in season 20 versus what it's like to play edge, right? Because I feel like there's a really nice balance now between the two. You get naturally, of course, when a zone comes towards you, prio position, right? Which is what everybody wants in the game. But to get to that prio position, you have to sacrifice pathing for Evo harvesters, for, you know, easy ways to level up your Evo shields. If you don't have a beacon, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And you may have to play that position initially with blue shields and kind of look for squad wipes in and around to get up to purples. But you're very rarely going to be able to get up to red Evo cores in that end game, because of the fact that you don't have access to these other ways to get your Evo up that a team like Le Cité de France did in that final moment.
Yeah, the damage difference nowadays from getting from purple to red, you're unlikely to be able to do it through purely damage. We do see teams somehow still achieve it because people are insane in Pro League, but it's not going to happen as much as it did in previous seasons. So you do need to find ways, and whether that is just scanning a care package that's in the sky, whether there is a random assault bin that you manage to find that someone else hasn't been able to grab yet. Pathing is so important now in Apex Legends, and you have to be able to strategically plan your routes, not just to avoid fights, but also to make sure that you are going to be as healthy as possible. And you're completely right. If you have blues, which is expected when you play early zone, and a team suddenly lands on you and they have purples, maybe even reds, if they've been able to play the correct way, you're at such a disadvantage. So you need to be thinking about your legend composition to try and counteract that. Okay, how do we stop people pushing us? That's when Caustic and Watson and other legends that are just so good at controlling come into the equation.
Well, we're going to go for a quick break now. Game number 2 is just around the corner. We'll confirm the results of game 1 when we get right back. But I tell you what, it's a great way to start season 20.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It's match 2 in game day number 6 here in the ALGS. Season 20 is upon us, and I'm joined by Gaskin, Dan Gaskin, of course, alongside myself, Rain Day, to hit up the second piece of action we'll be able to see about it. Dan, takeaways from game number 1. I love the conversation you and Mark were in about the benefits and the negatives, the pros and cons of having the zone pull towards you, but also not being able to access those higher level evos. Sometimes that makes the difference, and it kind of did in that last fight.
There's just so much to kind of dive into just from that first game, whether it be legend composition or whether it be from just playing edge or playing zone. It was a discussion that me and Mark had previously that we don't feel like zone or edge is really better than the other at the moment. It seems more balanced than it's ever been, but certainly you do see the pros and cons for sure. One of the biggest pros is being able to get up to red, like La Cité de France were able to do. And like I said, I really want to go back and see just how they did it, whether they were killing kind of wildlife, whether they were able to take down the ability of getting care packages, whether it was through bins. Like there's so many different ways of getting Evo shields. I think they were able to only have one fight and one squad wipe, and they were at red. So I think that makes a big difference. And they didn't have the lifeline. We had already seen from other teams, from Aurora, they had the lifeline, which explained why they had a red so early on. But for La Cité de France, they had done so much work for their Evo upgrades.
It is an interesting choice. We're going to see how much that matters. I mean, when you look at the parity, right, and between these pros, a lot of times if they have similar equipment, it's difficult in the 1v1 to just have one pro be so much better than the other. Most of them can hold their own. So going for the lifeline, trying to at least say, listen, maybe the ways we might in our fights become disadvantaged is by not being able to rotate and have as well of coordinated pathing as we would like. Let's eliminate that. Lifeline maybe coming in here and there, giving people an idea. The idea is experimenting, and that is what we will see as these players continue to drop in Season 20. We've seen Valkyries, we've seen some Horizon, but not many. We've even seen a Catalyst here and there, but again, this is going to continue to change, not only on World's Edge, Dan, but also on Stormpoint as we change maps.
Yeah, at Stormpoint, it does get a little bit easier for some of those Evo upgrades because you will have access to that wildlife that I was speaking of. And for example, like Trials, you're going to be able to get big Evo upgrades just through your drop spot. And just to touch on Lifeline one last time, because I think we might see her a little bit today, you do have to get her to purple to be able to get that perk, to be able to pick the care package and get the allied support. So you still have to work for it. You still have to make sure your pathing is correct to make sure your team can get up to purple. That's going to be difficult enough, right? But then the major benefit is that red will be able to come through. But we're back into World's Edge for map number 2, Rain Day, and we've got the contest happening again.
You gotta love it. Aftermath here, trying to be ahead of the math by grabbing some weapons that'll work. R99's fallen out of favor this season with some of the adjustments and some of the other weapons that have been. But we even saw late in that circle near thermal, Young Hong Kong rocking a Volt and an R99 double SMG. We'll see if this ends up working out for Kurev, Bavis, and Stahl on Aftermath. Alliance, Vaves, Liffin, close by, LVH, Aurora still over at Climatizer side, and again, Aftermath just looting. Part of it is this early rush. Not a lot going on. No more finding shield stand, and just trying to see, you know, what's the most efficient route to be able to find value. It seems like weapons obviously the focus, but taking out just getting to a purple, getting to a blue early, it really does change a lot of these early game priorities if you're not fighting.
Yeah, and also I thought the contest was happening because I saw it was LVH in the end who had dropped nearby, but Vex have disappeared. They have actually moved all the way over to Harvester. So we're not going to be seeing the fight really going down that we were maybe expecting here. So Aftermath should be more than comfortable. And here we go. Well, let's see to France. This is what I was speaking about, right? Trials is going to be one of the best ways to be able to get your Evo up. And that maybe explains why they were able to get to red, because they have the ability to do so. We saw it from Dark Zero in North America, dropping over towards Trials, getting to reds without even getting into a fight. So it is one of the most powerful drop spots and POIs that we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that you're able to get that early advantage is going to be massive. I think a lot of questions that people had, too, are kind of percolating as they watch the pros. There's not always full answers at the outset of it, but we can always speculate. One of the interesting elements of last season and season 19 that we've seen is group mobility with Horizon. That's certainly gone down. Whether it's the Caustic being introduced or the Valkyrie, we have not seen as many Horizons, and that means not as much group mobility in fights like this. As much as Go Next are threatening with that Scout, they have no ability to rise up quickly and challenge EXO on top. And so some of these fights that really made sense when you had team mobility with that Horizon gravity lift, they're just not going to make sense anymore. And especially with, I think, the look of Valkyrie coming back in, it's just a different pace to some of these fights that we're going to be seeing, Dan.
It is very interesting how just kind of one legend dipping out of the meta can then suddenly allow other legends to come back into the meta. And I think that we'll see a lot of swapping and swapping as the season goes on, as we get to see where the circle's heading. And we're going north, and you can already see Forge making their way through the train tunnel at the moment, just to try and get as far north as possible, maybe up towards the respawn beacon on the far tip of the northern side, because they're probably expecting it to keep pulling north and up past Survey Beacon. Teams who are traveling from the south are going to have to get a little bit of a boogie on, but of course now you can change your pathing once seeing the zone here. You try and hit a few more Evo Harvesters, you try and hit a few more Survey Beacons, and not only are you going to get the extra Evo shields, but also a lot of information as to where other people are going to be residing.
So far, not too many fights. Is the first one we've captured. Bangalore smoke on the outside. So many players look to use that on inside of themselves, but maybe one of the reasons we're seeing less of the regen inside of the smokes is because in professional play and most high-level play, Dan, you're shooting those smokes across, trying to obstruct the vision of enemies, and you're not having the really, I think it's the benefit of being able to sit down and throw a smoke on you unless things are very, very dire. That's not the situation that you would hope to be in very often. So that auto ping's been one of the main choices here as we see another rotation. Go Next running into a few players. It's the immediate Bangalore ultimate now, 3 minutes instead of 4 on the cooldown. Dolkin, Bambino, and Kaishi trying to just stave off, stay healthy, who are going to push back away after they see that ult coming in. Though they do have a Watson on their squad that might have been able to do something not worth throwing out that interception pylon just yet.
Just looking at the map overhead at the moment, La Cité de France still in Skyhook, by the way, and using their survey beacons to make sure they can get the information and stay healthy, are just trying to grief other teams that are moving up the rope and moving over towards Epicenter. Everyone just trying to get that extra little bit of damage, as even though damage isn't one of the main ways, I would say, of upgrading your Evos nowadays, it still is very important. That extra kind of 100 that you can grab just from shooting a player could be the difference later on between blue and purple. So still important to try and grief where possible, even if it's not going to end up with actually getting a knock or even any sort of kill.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, you would think that it's almost going to encourage a lot of aggressiveness. And in some ways, the meta has gotten more aggressive with almost the mandatory, I would say. Once anything passes 60% usage, I'd say it feels a bit mandatory in the ALGS, which is Bloodhound. And we've seen a lot of that. The scans, the fight potential, it's there. And as well as Bangalore, she kind of fit that utility in between fight, defensive, legend. But the Caustic kind of changes that, because we all know that as we see a bit of a fight here with Lufka against O and H, Orglis and Hungry, Matafe, Tyler FPS, trying to move forward here, already taking down Light. Lufka maybe bit off a little more than he could chew with ESG. They're going to back off, so we got to hold that thought. 20 squads still remaining. They're trying to not be the first to drop and make it 19.
ESG are just going to try and get out of this one. You could see there was the consideration of should we try and go for the res, but Orglis and Hungry are not allowing it. Again, knowing how important it is to get a squad wipe for your Evo upgrades, they will push this. They will try and find that final remaining player, and ESG do not have a support character, so they're not going to be able to get any sort of beacon. They're not going to be able to res at all, and not going to be able to do any sort of work. So for them, it's just a matter of trying to rat out and maybe getting an extra placement point at this point. But we'll have to see what Lufka tries here.
You know, this is basically what I was bringing up before, and you could see it didn't work for ESG. It works for Orglis and Hungry, but with the Caustic, one of the old adages is get the Caustic to late game. Don't take these early fights. Do not try to risk it, because if you can get Caustic to late game, you've accomplished basically 75% of your goal. Now it's just plug and play. But most of these teams are running this dual kind of legend selection with Bangalore, Bloodhound, and then a Caustic or a Valkyrie mixed in there. So they're tugging between, do I fight, do I level up, or do I stay late? It doesn't work out for ESG. It does work out for OAH. And now we're going to see Zidane, Psychop, and Lasite de France, who were phenomenal in game one, trying to pick off some more. They're already on purples. This is a good start for them, Dan. They seem to be playing game two very similarly in pace to how they did game one.
Yeah, I think Lasite de France are looking to try and hit this ring console down towards Countdown, and maybe weren't expecting there to be a team here just yet, but they're like, okay, well, we're on purples, they're on purples. This is probably not a fight that we're going to get too aggressive on, but perhaps we can force them away to reconsider our chances of getting the ring console. Looks like it's not going to happen, so Lasite France will just leave with a little bit of damage, which did get their final player up to purple, so perhaps they'll see that as job done. They've achieved now what they set out to do, is get as much armor as possible, but they're not going to be looking to take that fight. They will be able to rotate cleanly through Skyhook, though, because they knew that they had dominated that POI, so at least they're not going to have to worry about another team residing in any of those buildings. But a lot of interesting decisions happening for teams, and you're completely right about the controller legends in general. All of the controller legends are going to be benefiting at their very best in late game. And that's another reason why we might see teams and players running like double SMG, for example. You saw the Volt and R9 being used in the endgame of game one. If you are playing for endgame, SMGs are still going to be strong in the endgame, because it's going to be a lot of close range fights, a lot of close range engagements, especially with the likes of Watson, with the likes of Caustic coming in. Maybe even Gibraltar as well as a support legend can be big on that late game sustainability. So there's all these decisions that you have to make, but it's about getting to that endgame. And that's why we're also seeing Valkyrie pop into the legend selection as well, to kind of force your way, jam your way into some of those final circles.
Too, because I think it's requiring now a little bit more leading by the IGL for the team to pick the right tone of how you want to approach the mid game. Because yes, you're running with a Caustic now, and instead of kind of babysitting it with a Gibraltar or something in metas previous, where you were trying to basically just get to zone and sit in it, you know you're moving, you know you're going to have to engage, but you can't full commit unless you know you're going to win. So the legends here really require that IGL to be on point. Should we go for this? Graceful, one of those who is one of the best in the business in terms of his analysis and understanding of the game mechanics in Apex Legends, and we love having him on the show. We love seeing him compete even more. They're looking to move on Plexus and Bardo, who have only 2 blues. There's a Caustic gas grenade going on right there. They try to get a little bit of damage. The Nemesis fires along, and an R-Star is going to poke him out of cover. They should go back at a train station, but this should still be a push from JMW. They feel they can win this one, and certainly they can.
Yeah, going up against Blues, again, this is the reason why they are continuing to push this, because they know they have the armor advantage, and they can see the other team is constantly retreating. If you can do enough damage and maybe get a cheeky knock while they're running away, then this is just free Evo for you and free KP. But now you do have to start worrying a little bit. The longer this goes on, the more the ring is going to start to play a factor here. But it looks like they were at least rewarded with 1 KP to begin with. But still 20 squads remaining, as it looks like the remainders were able to just escape as that syringe just about gets off. But it's not going to be fun trying to get through zone.
See, and yeah, obviously we take a look at the map here as well. For those watching, still a north zone. Skyhook partially cut off here. The Seat de France 202 holding on that outside. And you do have to make sure that as you're pursuing some of those kills, you don't get overtaken from behind and have your spot now to enter back into zone safely taken away and held against you. Le Seat de France on the high ground. Zidane hits the red already. One of the stars in EMEA. Obviously so good individually, rising up the individual kill leaderboards, but now hitting red as well in this matchup and playing the Horizon, who is not a legend we've been seeing very often. But I can understand, and I actually am very much a fan of seeing individuals pick those legends that feel comfortable with them. But we turn over to Vex, who gets taken down immediately. They're going up against Orglis and Hungry, and Matafe kinda and Tyler win that one, but LVH still above them.
That's our first team wiped out of the lobby as well. That's how kind of slow and methodical this game has been, as everyone trying to position themselves. But now with Ring 3 closing in 20 seconds, it's not going to be as comfortable for some of these teams that are arriving late, because they are going to be forced into chokes, which are already in habitat and already going to have people just waiting maybe for an ambush. One of the latest arrivals is going to be Alliance, of course, coming all the way from Thermal. They're kind of forcing their way through the map at the moment as well. But we do see a few teams are starting to progress to red, whether that be through care packages or whether that's just through Evo upgrades. They've been able to find their way. There's a lot of damage on Orglis and Hungry. You'd say they've got a squad wipe as well, so they've been doing okay to engage themselves to make sure they can do their very best to get those Evo upgrades.
Tyler opting for the auto ping as well, which we've seen. Anybody who triggers the double time passive and adds that extra 30% will show up as an icon for Tyler. So that's more information for the squad to be able to do what they need to do. Stay healthy, looking to stay healthy from a distance. Fire off that Nemesis grenade. Will go in. What will it do? Looking for the damage to confirm? Nothing. So stay healthy, realizing maybe not the best use of time. Still no points for them in this lobby. No points for almost anyone in terms of placement. Only kills right now with 19 teams still remaining. But that is going to stop quickly. Bambino looking to go down. Tolkien, though, saves the day. I think that was JMW from Cold, who had been outside and had tried to come back in, and now unfortunately met their demise there. We have 17 squads left, and it looks like the number could drop even further.
Yeah, the southwest side of the map at the moment of this circle is just absolute chaos right now, as everyone's trying to force their way into zone. There were a few teams that were able to get out. Example, Alliance were able to get out and over everyone and towards Survey Camp, which is where the circle is finishing. But everyone who doesn't have the ability to go up and over, whether it be via an evac tower or via a Valkyrie, are just going to have to brute force their way through here. This is where the decision starts to come in of, do we try and play for a couple more kills and get some KP on the board, because placement points might be difficult. 17 squads still remain. None of these teams that are still alive have acquired a placement point just yet, but you may be able to get points through kills.
Falcon's under so much pressure, hasn't even upgraded to his level 3 perk there, right? As well as he was fighting. Could have gone either for the double scan, duration, bringing it from 1 to 2 seconds, or obviously what we had been talking about, the taste of blood, 25 HP in the ultimate that Falcons was just in on a knock. But trying not to get knocked, sometimes that's the key. I think Sanya rocking with the EVA 8 as well. Looks from the high ground, above bird's eye view, but Kurev and Aftermath will at least have the moment for now. Go next, though, looking to push. They've taken down Cold. Will it be Kurev who falls as well? It's just one man standing. I think that'll be an easy one from Go Next. Aftermath eliminated. And now we finally start to get some placement points. 15 squads still remaining as we head into nearly the end of this game. What a run Game 2 has been.
And these teams that are now moving from the south, be very surprised if they're able to get their way into zone, because they're going to be going into Survey Camp, which is, what, 3 buildings that are already in residence. There's also a team underneath one of the buildings. So Go Next, 202, Le Seat de France, they're all going to have to try and force themselves through chokes. They're all being held at the moment. Really, you've got to try and go over things if you can, if you have an evac tower. This is going to be a very difficult rotation for some of these teams now, because they have eyes on them.
No Valkyrie. on this squad as well. And like you could say, there's Kaishi going down. There's no movement. There's no utility. They need to be babysat. That's the problem with the Caustic and being so engaged here on the outskirts of these fights. But as Lecite de France hold inside near Survey Camp as well, you'll notice TSM Phoenix also inside trying to hold off these teams. Tolkien, he will go down, but Bambino's still alive as firing for Bambino. KP is on the table here. Miscam could fall, but Lecite de France take over on the high ground as well and are sitting pretty as they just watch the chaos beneath them. And this could be a time to move in. I don't know. They're steering the fights, maybe waiting for a few more downs or a full team wipe to make a position change.
I thought Infinite did really well there, just pushing out of the building at the right time to try and clean up any pieces because they are just on blue, so it's an important time for them to try and pick up some extra Evo if they can. But as you said, Lecite de France from the high ground would have heard this commotion, and they are getting closer. Lecite de France took down Alliance. Again, it was Lecite de France versus Alliance, just like it was at the end of match 1, and now they're looking to try and push in on Infinite here.
And they have, yes, look to move. They have gone on down to the backside. And you can see this was just patience from them. Infinite could be in trouble. They certainly are. Aimbot and Kizarone, the only two alive. But they are in the building. And with a Caustic, anything is possible. Unfortunately, Thon is down. And that is the one thing you have to make sure you can change while holding this. Beast of the Hunt still alive. Again, no tactical chosen, no level 3 perk. I'm not sure if that is a spectating issue or if these players really are just caught up in the mix and don't have time.
Yeah, I think he's only just got there, so he's literally like, I don't care right now. I don't need it. We just need to stay alive. Pick him up. Get the res. As Infinite, you have to imagine the comms are flooded at the moment because they are just fighting against everyone and the elements that are around them, but they have been able to hold things off. The bad thing here is they still have to move. They are not in the next circle, and it looks like their journey begins now.
Big time stuff here as the move has to continue from Lecite de France. They will go out. It will not be a final 2 for them any longer. Oh, but you can see Kiner, maybe a relic of it. Zidane, could he pull off something crazy? No. They will fall as we now bring it down to 7. Aurora simply on the edge, watching, waiting like kings on their throne at the chaos of the masses down below. Team Portugal sitting on high, I believe as well.
Yeah.
Yep, and so that will be 2 teams who have really nice position. Kajera also running that crypto. That's going to be a big EMP. I'm not sure they want to move to push this. They're sitting pretty. 4 squads left, and as things start to settle, that was chaos.
4 squads left, and all 4 have a relatively good position at the moment. I would agree with you. Team Portugal and Aurora have the better positions with the high ground to work with. TSM Phoenix arguably in the least favorable position because they are stuck in a building, which is very easy for the teams that are on high ground to focus them. Same could be said for Made in Heaven, but it's just about where Aurora and Team Portugal really look here. I'd be expecting this to be Team Portugal or an Aurora victory just based off the positions they have and what's available to them in terms of shields and utility. For example, Aurora having that lifeline, having purple as well, means Hardeki was able to get the care package upgrade. So likelihood is one of them is going to have a red weapon as well. So this is going to be a good position potentially for Aurora. They're going to have that extra little bit of damage.
Yeah, and here's the thing. How can they extend this? There are no reds. So one of the things that we have kind of not mentioned, but it's been hard because of the chaos of it, is there's a significant boost to winning a fight when teams have 1 level of Evo higher than you. That underdog bonus really helps to push you into that next echelon. Hardeki and them not going to have the chance to do it, but they are playing at least on the high ground. They can hold down this rock for now. And one of the other things is being able to revive a little bit faster. That is a nice benefit for the lifeline here. Hardeki bringing back one of the oldest legends in Apex Legends, one of the first legends ever to be released into this game. Now, in the newest season, 20 seasons later, we'll see if they can get a win.
And only 5% off that ultimate, and I'm fairly certain that the lifeline hasn't been able to use that care package upgrade yet, so it means now the ultimate's going to come down and Aurora are going to get a very late care package, but it's whether they're going to be able to actually get anything out of that care package with all the carnage that's about to unfold. So we'll have to see whether they're able to do so as Team Portugal now start to press off their building and towards TSM Phoenix, but they get eliminated, so now it's on to the next tier.
Oh, he's got to throw his ultimate down. Got to do it. Oh, post kill has it, but doesn't go down. It's just a rotation here so well, and Hardeki's going to try to play off of it. OJ Rain ends up cleaning at least 1 up. They've got to do 2, though. Rain, can he go back to back? Oh, Aurora! They clean it up. OJ Rain with the clutch and 9 impulse, and Hardeki come out alive.
Well, Aurora making sure they show what lifeline can do. in the late game. The care package arrived. They were able to upgrade to the red. I don't know what weapon came out of it in the end, but it didn't matter. They just had to kind of wait and pick their moment. They found a nice rock to be able to work with, and they saw that Team Portugal had to push off the high ground towards one of the lower teams, and then it was just a matter of picking off the pieces.
You know, in the Bangalore emote, doing the Ryan Gosling, you know, crazy, stupid love handstand push-ups there. I mean, that's just insult to injury. You got to give it up for Aurora. What a team. What a dynamic presence that they have had, showcasing not only their ability to, you know, work as a squad, coming in from two kind of top squads in terms of their play, but also mesh and be together in this new meta, bringing in the lifeline, which no other team is doing, Dan. That's another element that I think is extremely exciting for a squad like this. I was always a fan of Aurora before even OJ Rain or you know, before they were Fire Beavers and they were kind of the original iteration of Aurora. They were the first team to bring in Catalyst. They were experimenting with Ashe. They did a lot of stuff to kind of push the meta forward. So whether it's a new player, it seems like that org still loves to push the envelope on the meta and what we're seeing across the board, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a comfort pick from 3 years ago as well for Lifeline. You know, people have been waiting for this moment to be able to jump back on the Lifeline. She's cropped up every now and then in the meta, but it's never really stabilized. But perhaps people seeing victories now come out and how useful she's being in the late game with the care packages, people might start to theory craft a little bit more, and perhaps more Lifelines might turn up, especially even in the early fights. Being able to get the old tippy tap to get the res and still have a gun up can be very important in some of the early game encounters as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do want to just apologize. You know, it's a new season. We've got things that we're working on, and we will get those stats up for you some point today. We are running into a couple of issues behind the scenes, but do not fret, do not worry. We will let you know where the standings are, where the players are in terms of Season 20. But for now, we're going to go to a quick break and keep the action rolling here at the ALGS.
Welcome back, everybody, to the ALGS. The EMEA Pro League is always a fun one to watch, and 2 games in, that certainly has not changed. First game, of course, went to LCDF, and now in game number 2, Dan, it is the team who came in today at number 1. Aurora get the win, and I tell you what, looking like their old selves, looking dangerous in the lobby.
Yeah, when I saw Lifeline was in the end game and I saw that they were on purples already, I was like, well, maybe they've already got the care package. And then I saw it was like 80%. And I'm like, this can make a big difference in that final circle if they're able to grab it. Not only a weapon, but an Evo cache that could come out of it. And we suddenly saw they were on red, so they must have been able to just nab one of those. And even though I think they probably would have been able to do it on purples, we've got to talk about the positioning of Aurora, the space that they are commanding as a team at the moment, working as a unit, and they look like a real threat as we would expect coming into this season.
Whenever we see those survey camp ends, we always talk about how it is a great idea, obviously, to come in from the north side because you have that natural terrain and the rocky formations that you can fight in from the high ground, and also you can fight down onto survey camp itself. And I think we just saw a really good example of that, right? You saw Team Portugal, who got into a really good spot on one of those god rocks early on, but it was Aurora coming from that north side who managed to clean things up. And you might be thinking, hey, why doesn't everyone rotate from the north side? When you're running into a team like Aurora, there probably were some teams who tried to do that, but they just got run over in those fights. And I think Lifeline is certainly having an impact on their ability to win those fights down. I think it was a bow check that was picked up, if my audio cues were recognized correctly. And when you know that you see a care pack weapon, it can be the difference in a team fight, especially if you're on even armors, let alone purple versus blues or the like.
Yeah, it's a lot of legends now that can make the difference in the final fights. And if Lifeline ends up being one of these that is winning games for teams over and over, then more people are going to start thinking about using her. That's for sure. Especially because in those, like, I mean, imagine just getting an Eva 8 in the final circle, for example. Like, that's unreal. We know how powerful the Eva 8 is right now. But then you've also got to look at the benefits of Lifeline in general. I mean, we spoke about the Caustic and the Bangalore, and will you choose the ability to be able to heal whilst in smoke or heal whilst in gas? I mean, Lifeline can heal her health whenever with her little robot that she pops out. So there's always going to be that little addition as well. There's all these extra little finicky things that can help in various different scenarios. So I love the addition of Lifeline. I think Aurora are working very well, but can they progress with it? Will it still work? Will they still use Lifeline on Storm Point, for example? These are the questions that can only be answered when we get there.
I think it's a wonderful thing about the new season, right? I mean, we're watching now, there's been 2 or 3 weeks between the last time that we saw the Pro League and we saw a match day, and the fact that we're coming into a lobby now in EMEA and we're seeing Lifeline, we saw Revenant, and we're just seeing a lot of compositions that you feel teams aren't 100% comfortable, or maybe there's going to be a counter pick in the lobby that makes you rethink, oh, is this the right composition? All of these kind of things just makes it so interesting to watch and see that development, and makes each fight feel very unique, dependent upon what that composition is going to be. But I want to just take a few seconds while we wait for this next game on World's Edge to go live to talk about Caustic, because everyone's probably thinking at home, if you haven't watched ALGS for a while since the new season dropped, like, why Caustic? Like, why is Caustic back in the meta? And I think the most obvious thing to me, there's 2 reasons. One is the fact that you can hit the ring console, so you're going to get free Evo and information off of that, but also the fact that the blue perk is the one that gives you that increase in the Nox gas grenade. It's such a strong ultimate ability, full stop. The fact that you get that perk and that boost early on means that Caustic isn't just an endgame character anymore, not just an endgame legend. It's one that can be so aggressive in early fights if you can zone a team out.
Also very important that you have the right player playing a Caustic as well, because naturally, as a bigger model character, you are going to be a little bit more vulnerable. And yes, okay, you don't take as much damage, but you're also going to be one of the key focus points for multiple reasons. A, you're a bigger target. B, you're one of the most important legends to take down, so suddenly that Nox gas and suddenly those gas barrels are not going to be as much of an impact in the fight. So you are always going to be the target, so you need to have a player who is going to be a little bit more passive, is going to position themselves a little bit better, isn't going to overstep the line, and will only get aggressive when the time is right. And we have seen a few Caustics go down during rotations where perhaps another player with different positioning may have been able to stay alive. So we'll have to see whether people change who's playing that Caustic, and maybe we learn the responsibilities of being a Caustic main. As we're back over towards Overlook, it's LVH versus Aftermath yet again. Vex are not going to be dropping over here. Instead, they're going to be down over towards Harvester.
Well, good news for LVH this time is I'm pretty sure that Life unfortunately disconnected in that last game during the drop. So probably why we didn't see that contest going down. I think LVH were just thinking, let's just get out of here. And they might do exactly the same thing again. We did see in the first game of the day that both teams decided just to split the loot and continue on their merry paths. But it looks like this time might be a little bit different. I think Lifen is annoyed at the internet gods and has decided, I'm going to take it out on the team in front of us.
Yeah, just a full-on charge here as they're trying to surround. One of the benefits of dropping on the outskirts of Overlook is you are able to kind of pin the other team in towards the donut building and then gain position on them.
Enemy in sight.
As the fight kind of pokes and prods, or I should say, I think it's about poking and prodding at each other. We took a look at the map overhead and you can see where those Evo Harvesters and the zone is going to be going. Harvester going to be a point of contention a little bit later in this game, but back into the seat of the players in front of us, and Stow is looking to get some shots down. Found a Havoc early on, and I would say a contest weapon, a Havoc with a mag is pretty much one of the best things you can find.
There is a ring console and a survey beacon here at Overlook, and I don't know whether Aftermath were able to hit either of them, but certainly you do have that Evo Harvester that is going to be so close to both of these teams, and that's why you're naturally seeing this fight get closer and closer to the Harvesters, just so people can be like, well, maybe we can grab it, but it might not even give you blues at this point, depending on how much damage you've actually been able to output, as both teams are trying to press their advantage.
We've seen the evac tower go down to try and combat the Horizon Q, which has taken LVH up to heights. However, LVH doing a pretty good job to hold right now. LVH got some initial damage, and Lifey will get that first knock. However, it's going to be traded out, and Jay Hanzo is down to barely any HP. He'll go down. Lifey, who couldn't get into the previous game, has to introduce himself to this one, though. It's a 1v1, if I can see this one correctly, to win this contest.
Only 9 bullets in the car, but has plenty of light ammo, so that's going to be a lifesaver for sure. Good initial damage. It's just poking and prodding, and confirmation that maybe it's just going to be a white you're going up against rather than a blue. It should be easy, and it will be cleaned up, and it was an isolated fight, so now LVH's reward, they'll be on blues. There's a survey beacon and a ring console here, so they're going to be able to utilize both of those to potentially get even further through their Evo upgrades.
And they had the Harvester next to them as well, so they're going to be feeling pretty good with those Evo cores. Elsewhere, you can see a fight just took place in August and Hungary. They were the ones that won it. So 2 teams already eliminated in this game. They also have ring console information that you can see in the top left, so they're going to have a great idea of where the zone is going to be going. Plus, add on to that the fact that they've got an Evo Harvester next to them as well. So having won a fight and being on blues already, more than likely they'll be able to get up to purple.
Circle-wise, we're heading towards Harvester. We saw the little picture-in-picture a little bit earlier. TSM Phoenix down to just 1, and Sabs is going to be just trying to retreat. Does have one of the banners, but sadly not both. But a lot of teams have already made their way to Harvester and the surrounding areas, and actually it was Vex dropping at Harvester with a ring console, who should have been able to get into what they deem as prime position. We'll have to see later on, as they should certainly be in the late game as long as they're not griefed. Now, we are going to see a few teams play on the outskirt areas like this, for example, but August and Hungary are going to be happy residing here for now.
August and Hungary pretty chill for now, as you said, just probably thinking about if they have the ability to go for that Evo Harvester. Might have already picked it up themselves as well. But a few teams in the vicinity is going to make that decision a little bit more difficult. We mentioned how Harvester might be one of the POIs that's contested. This is also the other opportunity for the pool, right? Towards the bar building here, just to the north of Siphon. So teams are going to have to hedge their bets a little bit here. Zone 3 information is obviously going to be very important to them. But teams who are coming in a little bit later as well, who are going to be able to path their way to Evo, are going to have an opportunity to be in pretty strong positions from edge, based upon the fact that I don't think anyone's quite sure which side of the mountain raids this zone is going to pull. So there's going to be less teams in front of them and more chance to isolate fights and force their way in.
Yeah, you talk about teams arriving late and with their pathing. Again, I'm going to mention La Cité de France up towards Trials. I still think it's one of the most powerful POIs. Not only do you get the ability to kill the initial Trials and get the Evo upgrade through that, you potentially get the bots to give you the access to the Vault, which also upgrades your Evo up as well. And there's going to be assault bins usually in that Evo tunnel, in that Vault tunnel, excuse me. So there's just going to be so many reasons for La Cité de France just to kind of stay up there, get their shields as healthy as possible, and then potentially end up with reds as they approach. And because they're like so late game focused, they shouldn't have any problem at picking up the Evo Harvesters on their way as well, because most teams would have moved zone already.
I see the Reds coming in for TSM Phoenix. I thought you were about to drop like one of the most disrespectful caster sentences I've heard in a while there. Like, you said bots, and I was like, who's he going to call out? Like, I thought you were about to say, like, the Cité de France get to fight these bots on edge of zone. I was like, okay, I'm waiting. I'm interested. Piqued my attention. But you brought it back. You're a consummate professional. Well done. I'm proud. And also disappointed at the same time, but, you know.
I just saved myself, saved my career. That's all it was. I was actually talking about anyone who drops near them, of course.
Don't worry, there's plenty of time to ruin that. We've got a few more games to go.
Other teams, by the way, who were doing a similar thing and playing very late, Aurora. I mean, we saw what Aurora were able to do in Game 2. They were already up to purples. Their aim is always going to be, ideally, to get to purples so that they can use that lifeline package. So they're going to be fighting in the zone at the moment. Now, one of the big Season 20 changes is you cannot sit in the zone for as long. It's roughly around kind of 3-4 minutes, I believe, before you start getting the official warning signs. Nothing that anyone is really going to be having affect them in competitive play, but we have seen it being a true benefit in ranked play, so people can't stay in the blooming zone and heal themselves forever. But it does just keep you moving a little bit faster here in Apex Legends.
Another thing to note out for the teams who are arriving late, right, playing hard edge to these zones, is the fact that if you're running Bloodhound or a legend that can hit the survey beacons, then you're going to be able to hit the survey beacons, and not just one, but multiple, right? And that's more free Evo on your way forward. That's probably why you're seeing the likes of Aurora on the edge of zone with reds, purples, whatever it might be. The fact that they know they don't have prio to zone, that they're not going to be able to get an insta-good spot, means that they can just take their time. They can walk around the map, they can play all around the edge and hit all of these survey beacons to make sure that when they do arrive, that they're going to have the maximum Evo impact and the maximum Evo in the bank, so to speak, to make sure those Evo cores are as leveled up as they can. But one team that's inside of Monument at the moment is going to find out that Aurora are close.
Yeah, Aurora just need to heal back up, and there's the benefit of Lifeline. They can all heal back up together, but here comes that care package. They were able to get to purple, they were able to select the allied support, and Hardeki can now provide the goods. Do you get an Eva 8? Yes, an Eva 8, and potentially maybe... Okay, sadly, it doesn't look like they were able to get any Evo caches, so they weren't able to upgrade to red. That's also, it's not a guarantee with Lifeline. You're not guaranteed an Evo cache, but you are guaranteed a red weapon, so they were able to get, thankfully, an Eva 8 to work with, which, you know, you still take an Eva 8.
You're not going to complain. By the way, well done on get the right name. We've had over 100 things to learn, everybody. Bear with us. Elsewhere, though, on the map, still very confused as to where the zone is going to be going, as I think a lot of teams are. It's very congested in the middle of that zone at the moment, but like I mentioned, it's split between the mountainous range. Is it going to be one that pulls... If I'm putting money on it, Dan, which I don't, and never would, I'm going to say it's going to pull towards Harvester's side, but very close to the mountain range. We'll have to see if that is the case or if I'm completely wrong. Alliance, another team who are going to play hard edge here. Only up to blues at the moment, so haven't really been able to path their way to any success as far as getting the Evo cores leveled up.
Hack is one of the all-time kill leaders in the ALGS, and maybe he can add to that today. Of course, Imperial Hal, the overall kill leader, but Hack is up there and one of the highest in EMEA.
Well, Alliance trying to plan their next rotate. They're on edge of zone right now. Let's jump into the comms and see what Hackers is telling the troops.
Wingman in Harvester. Literally middle Harvester.
Yeah, let's see the next zone. There was nobody playing the bottom of Harvester, so we can Valkyrie and land on the bottom low ground right side. That is safe, I'm pretty sure. The only threat we have when we land there is people caustic ulting us, but they should not be able to 8-bit. Remember, if we get caustic ulted, we can medkit or pop a Phoenix. I have Phoenix and medkit.
Yeah, shopping while it does then.
It's 1 tick Phoenix, 3 tick medkit.
Alright.
Nothing behind us.
Yeah. My side too. That's gonna burn. Coming back now.
They have Sentinel on the other side. Let's just see the zone here. Where the fuck does this go?
Back to Harvester, maybe this one.
Back building was free. Let me scout the back building.
Is high tech?
No.
It is.
Yeah,
Contact.
Now the comms into the game, and a fight that's going down right now is between Cold and August and Hungary. And Cold starting to feel a bit chilly out here, Dan, because you can see that August and Hungary have got that first knock.
Urban's gone down, but at least Gracefords have been able to stay up, and that will allow them to stabilize a little bit just through caustic gas that can be dropped as a defensive barrier here, as Cold now force themselves into the middle of the building. But August and Hungary have lost one, so it's a 2v2 here.
2v2, kind of going to have a poke, gets 45, and most importantly, gets out of there, having done that damage. Tyler's not in a position to back him up, so that's a really good decision. And you can also see that Kinder is going to get the finish as well, thanks to a little bit of a help, I think, from elsewhere. But August and Hungary down to a 2 right now, and we are seeing where that zone is going to be pulling pretty soon. And I just want to say, I might have been right, Dan. I might have been right.
Yeah, I think you are. It's going to be pulling back down to the area you were speaking about earlier between Harvester and the Ridge side. As LVH, they were able to third party and take down Cold. So Cold, even though they did so well as a 2 to kind of pin themselves in the building and stabilize, it wasn't enough because LVH were able to hear all that commotion and they then reap the rewards of any loot that might be on the floor. But you're not going to be safe here. You are still going to have to move a little bit further in. And of course, August and Hungry currently hold that position, but August and Hungry did lose 1. So LVH, if they find out that August and Hungry are a 2, then that will allow them to push up.
Yeah, you would feel they're going to learn that pretty quickly as well. Jay Hanzo on the Bloodhound should be able to scan and then just give that information away. They're going to just take a few minutes before that to loot up. Make sure that they've got everything they need. Interesting to see how teams try and progress from this side of the map, though, through those chokes. Do they have a Valkyrie in the composition? Will certainly would help. But Go Next, they are one of the teams in charge of Harvester at the moment and trying to hold down this position, which is going to be safe for that next zone.
Yeah, a few teams that are already safe but are starting to be joined by other squads that are diving in. For example, Alliance, when we were in that listening, they were kind of wondering where that zone's going to be going, and they were just theorizing, they were guessing because they didn't have ring console information, but they have found themselves over towards the tracks. As ExoClan, very healthy and well. You can see they were able to get a care package. That's why Frix is up onto red at the moment and has a Kraber as well. He took everything out of the care package.
Yeah, why wouldn't you, right? If it's a Kraber, you're certainly going to be able to do damage. Probably the biggest damage output that you can do in one bullet. And that's certainly going to help the Evo Stonks. I would be saying to my teammates as well, give me your blue armor, because I will be able to do some damage, even though you can't do that anymore. Ah, Season 19 doesn't exist anymore. Season 20 is where we are. See, I knew I'd make a mistake, Dan.
No one will notice. As maybe LVH
inside of the building. Shots coming in. August Hungry will be eliminated. That was the 2 that you were worried about, Dan.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but LVH did lose 1 in the fight, and now it means that there's going to be potential for Stay Healthy here to capitalize, and La Cité de France are also above them as well. So LVH, even though they pushed and they had to push, they might be punished for it by other teams that are going to be in the surrounding areas. It's La Cité de France who hold the choke. They're in arguably one of the better positions because they can get out if they would like to, and they're going to be healthy at purples too. Stay Healthy, however, are not as healthy. They're just on the blues. They tried to pick apart the pieces that was left over, but instead they're going to be retreating. And the reason why, 25 seconds until that zone comes in. If you are stuck on this eastern side, there's only, what, 3 points of access here, and all of them are chokes. You either go through the tunnel, you go around the tunnel, or you go up through the ridge side, and all of them are going to have players waiting for you for an ambush. So it's going to be a very disappointing experience for you wherever you go here.
Yes, everyone's just going to take the gloves off, I think, on that side and just throw down, see who comes out on top. Frick still has his Kraber, though. 3 bullets to work with. But he doesn't need him. He pulls out the car instead, gets the shield break, and you can see that Aurora taking damage. Let's see the France, who seem to be doing that damage to them. Freak still looking for a shot here to try and clean this side up. And if they can clean this building out, it will mean they'll be able to hold that choke that we were talking about, where other teams are going to have to work their way through. Aurora, they will be eliminated in the meantime. Freak is having to back up, though, because he doesn't want to give that first knock away. The red armor will give him a little bit of an opportunity to stay alive. The nades go down. Vex eliminated in the meantime. It's starting to cook a little bit here on World's Edge. One shot with the Kraber could change things, but that is narrowly going to miss.
And remember, Vex dropped in Harvester, so they weren't even able to stabilize despite it being their droppers. Again, it's missed. These could be huge differences if these Kraber shots were hit, but they're unable to do so. And ExoClan may be punished as Young Hong Kong again is left as the last remaining player, but is eliminated. 11 squads now. We're close to our top 10, close to 2 placement points available for all teams that are able to get there. La Cité de France are trying to throw themselves into the circle, but they throw themselves into their doom, as now we're down to our last 10, as teams should be able to stabilize a little bit. Maybe one last fight between LVH and the Forge over here.
Yep, they are going at it at the moment. Vipes is trying to survive. Jay Hanzo trying to do exactly that as well. They have a knockdown shield to play behind, so they should be able to survive and get healthy. A couple of grenades are coming in. At least it's a purple knock, which certainly makes things a little bit easier, but that's going to be eviscerated thanks to a frag grenade. However, the shots in retaliation from Vipes, absolutely superb. Scan comes in, though. They forced their way through this choke, but Vipes is the last standing player. We'll get the core swap, but the Kraber could be a difference maker here if he can retreat to his teammate.
He could certainly go out with a bang here. Could make a difference, but it doesn't look like he's going to get the chance to, because still Stay Healthy pushed their advantage immediately. As soon as they saw there was a chance and there was a break in the gunfire from the other side from Alliance, that's when they full sent it, because Alliance started to think about zone instead here. Where can they position themselves to potentially win this game? At the moment, they're not in the best of spots because they're very vulnerable from both their west and their east, but if they are able to move in and find a spot under Harvester. Also, look at this from Team Portugal. That's Kashira in a nutshell, by the way. That reminds me of like a few seasons ago when they were on Ascend. Get those Watson gens down, get the fences down as well, and find a hidey hole.
ASG up on the height of Harvester as well. They've got the respawn beacon down for a little bit of extra cover as well. Stay healthy now, making their move up to the high ground. There is a team below them. Fences and bullets, a pretty good indication of that. As we now have 8 squads remaining. Make that 7 as 202 will be eliminated as well. A couple of teams you would expect maybe to go down in the next few seconds as well as the zone forces teams together. And I just want to touch on Alliance, by the way, Dan. Their rotate, they went from all the way outside of Thermal, all the way across to essentially the wrong side of where the zone was going to be going, but they've Valkoed back over, if I'm not mistaken, and now they have a position in the end game. It's great navigation of traffic from them.
Yeah, they've done really well. I mean, similar to the early games as well, moving their way through, even without ring console information, towards the latter stages, as the Kraber again is playing a part in this one. It is going to do initial damage, not enough to get any sort of knock, and Stay Healthy are not going to be trying to force a fight right now to anyone who's outside, as now it's the Bocek from Alliance, as Effect is going to be able to play his part with a red weapon as well. And then look where the Alliance have found themselves here. They found somewhere to play. It is only a small rock at the moment, but because there's so many teams, they're not going to be getting sent on here. No one is going to try and take this fight onto them. Instead, they can kind of play their part from a distance.
Still bullets in the Kraber here for Mesuku to try and hit some shots. But are the shots from distance here going to be enough for them to really capitalize on that distance and kind of close it to get the kills? I don't think so. ESG eliminated as well. Team Portugal doing that work themselves. Alliance still healthy, but they're going to have to move from this rock in a few moments' time. I think they're just looking for the entry damage onto Team Portugal, but the problem is those Watson fences make it so difficult to push forward. You can't use the Valk missiles either. They're going to get swallowed up by the Gen, so destroying the Gen is going to be point A, and that's exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, make sure you take that out of the equation ASAP, as now round 6 is going to begin to close, and teams like Alliance who are on the outskirts and Go Next are going to have to slowly creep their way in, and you may become the focus point from other teams that have found themselves just on the high ground to work with here. But this is going to be a very scrappy endgame. 6 teams remain. That is a lot of gunfire that's going to go down. And again, I'll say it, legend composition is going to be very important here. Who has an ultimate that you can utilize to really give you the leg up in these final fights? You've got a Bangalore ult, for example, where only Thunder can go down, but there's going to be a lot of coverage from up and above, and Stay Healthy lose 1.
Stay healthy, fill the gas. The Nox gas comes down, which takes one of them away from this game. And now it's all on the Watson, trying to escape, trying to run. I don't think they're going to be able to do so. Stay Healthy will be eliminated. It's Passion, who have held this low ground position for so long, who still find themselves in this endgame. Gold helmet swap is going to help them getting those ultimate back to be a part of this endgame. But here come Alliance. They want to make their move onto Team Portugal, and they finally got that first knock. Shera goes down, and it's the new boy, Unlucky.
Well, Alliance are in a fantastic spot. They've been able to get into what is close to the final circle here, but they suddenly were griefed a little bit by Team Portugal. Now they're going to have eyes on them here, but look at all the damage that's going down. It is absolute chaos happening in this final circle. Go Next get eliminated. It's 4 squads that remain.
Made in Heaven up on the high ground. One of the teams you would imagine have a great opportunity to win this game. Alliance are still strong as well, playing in and around that truck, but now you're seeing a fight go down, and they're getting sent on themselves, and it might just be a case of Made in Heaven coming down from Heaven to finish this game off.
Not again from the heavens, surely, but it should be a easy cleanup here now, because they know there's already been damage done. They finally drop, they get the next knock, and this is going to be a wrap-up. Only 1 player remains, unless we see something drastic, which we will not. Made in Heaven take it. Game number 3 here on World's Edge, and they make sure they capitalize from a very beneficial position.
Really important for Made in Heaven as well. This is a kind of win that gives you the points when it comes to final standings that can boost you up and put you in contention for those LAN spots. Great job from Alliance as well, and Made in Portugal finding their way towards that end game in different ways, but you're right, it was too easy. It was queued up a little bit too easily. And the good thing is I actually get commission every time someone says that sentence. I trademarked it.
Every time someone says down from the heaven. We just have to make sure we fill your pockets.
You just pay me.
That's
again.
all.
That's
God
very kind of you.
Wait, does it come out of my pocket?
Directly from your bank account. Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, so I'll have to make sure I don't say it too often. But yeah, Made in Heaven in the end. They're going to be delighted with that one. You mentioned it. Overall placement, I think they're in 9th coming into today. So a good day today will keep them in that conversation. It's not going to be a guarantee, but you're going to be there or thereabouts for LAN.
We'll bring Rain Day back in to have a chat about what we just saw. World's Edge is wrapped up now, and I got to say, a little bit of a surprise winner in that end game, but some familiar faces, shall we say, involved as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm just happy I don't have to pay you anymore, because that was starting to get expensive, man, the amount of times we've heard that one. But Made in Heaven, they do end up winning, I will say, and they win in good fashion. I was worried more about Team Portugal, though, and it kind of brought me to this conversation around how difficult it is for teams that are playing active or on the low ground constantly to fight against Team Portugal and their insistence on a Crypto Watson squad in a lot of these metas. A lot of the years that they've been successful, and you would have to say that there would be a frustration just getting EMP'd at that point, no matter what it is. Not necessarily winning Team Portugal, but making it so hard for teams that are doing fights that can balance on a knife's edge to actually then win it, and then ultimately be taken out by something as what they feel probably minuscule as some type of ability or ultimate there. But ultimately, that wasn't the determining factor. It was the high ground. It was the height, and Made in Heaven took a very good position there. And one of the things that we have to look at is we can analyze, we could talk about these things, but we also have people who have been watching on the side as well. I'm not sure if it's quite time yet to bring them in, but we have some experts that will be joining us for the halftime, and I'm excited to get their thoughts on how things have gone in. I'm waiting here to hear confirmation if it's time to bring them in. But until I do, Mark, I mean, you know, Alliance has been in 2 out of 3 of the final circles. They haven't got that win yet, but I would say this is a great transition for Unlucky jumping into their squad.
Yeah, I agree with you. They probably look back on that game number 1 and see it as a game that they could think was winnable. They might have been baited in a little bit by that mobile beacon going down, the mobile res that kind of made them send it a little bit earlier than they could have. But I mean, second, and then decent points in game number 2 as well, decent-ish points, I would say. And then game number 3, like you say, involved in an end game where they had to make some really tough rotates. But one thing I'm loving so far is it's like, this is a tough rotate, but now Valkyrie's back in the meta, which allows them to get back into the zone or play from a different position, right? And
yeah,
I think composition is fascinating at the moment. You're talking about Team Portugal, right? And it's their composition is fantastic for holding a spot, but what utility do they have in an end game which is going to help them win it in comparison to a Caustic Hole, in comparison to Rolling Thunder coming in from Bangalore? All of these things, it's a game of chess, right? And it's a game of picks and counter picks, and that's what makes Apex so fascinating to watch, especially in those end game moments. It's what do you have that's going to help you win this game? Is it going to be able to be countered? Is it something that's going to win us the game? And do we have it available at all? Because we might have had to expend it to even get there.
Listen, I mean, there's a match day that I saw, you know, with the unthinkable of Furia jump up with a gravity lift and win a fight that we thought was surely, I believe, going the way of Xset. And Furia ended up taking that one near Echo location, Echo HQ. And so now I think that because we don't have that too, height becomes even more valuable because people have way less ability to contest height mid-fight. But I want to get more answers, more in-depth talks. And I need to bring on someone who's handsome, more handsome than all 3 of us. Unfortunately, fellas, we're doing our best, but this guy, it's hard to compete. Shiv FPS, ladies and gentlemen, the GOAT here. We gotta bring in the Warlord. Shiv, it's great to have you here, man. Thanks for joining us for the halftime.
Great to be here. Yeah, thank you guys. What's up, everyone? Hello. All right. Fire away with the questions, I guess. Let's go.
Right. Shiv, one of the things we really I'll start out with a softball here. How's the vibe going on with your position here in Pro League? Because honestly, you know, you guys ups and downs, but the truth is you're such a fun guy. Your energy is always to look at the humor of a situation and make light of something. Is that something that you try to carry on alongside the Pro League as well? And juggling being a content creator, which is so difficult just to try to do like content creator and just play ranked as well. But you're a real pro. Yeah. Like, just talk to me about what the vibe is and how you maintain that positive energy.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we always try and keep the most positive energy and vibes that we can, of course, as a team, whether we go through the ups and downs, whatever. I mean, right now, we're not doing too great, but, you know, hopefully we can turn that around in the last few 2 days, at least, that we have. You know, try our best. But either way, we try and keep, you know, the most positive vibes we can and keep the ball rolling, keep it moving, you know, always, for sure. And
I love that. Yeah, I'm going to jump in very quickly, Shiv, because I want to ask you about season 20, right? It's the obvious question, but how have you guys adapted to season 20? Because it's been, you know, weeks and weeks of trying to work out how to get results, and then all of a sudden the season changes and you've got to completely change the way that you approach the game. So what's that process been like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of changes here in season 20 for legend comps and picks and stuff. Obviously, we're seeing a lot more of like Caustics, Bloodhounds, Bangalores. I mean, Bloodhound Bang, we saw quite a bit of before, but changing a lot to Caustic now, especially on World's Edge. So yeah, we're definitely gonna be switching to like we're gonna definitely have Caustic on World's Edge. Still run the Bloodhound Bang, but of course that's a comp we'll see a lot right now after season 20. That's for sure on World's Edge at least. Stormpill will see a bit, but not as much of that. And there's other legends, of course, you can run like Val, Crypto, Watson, a little bit of also. So yeah, but definitely quite a bit of legend change for sure compared to last season.
Well,
yeah.
One thing I know,
Change.
Shiv, is no matter what happens to Bangalore, we'll always see you playing Bangalore. So I know she's always going to turn up in Pro League as long as you're here. So that's good. We're going to show you now some of the final circles. Of course, you were watching on the sidelines here. And match number 1, I mean, it was a very interesting final circle. I'd love to know your thoughts on kind of what happened here and whether there was any mistakes or whether there was any good plays or maybe what you would have done in these final moments.
Yeah, so LCDF dropped from the low ground. They actually got one of them knocked, but they managed to get Horizon Q up to high ground, which actually let them reset, which was huge. Alliance ended up swinging Aurora and wiping them out, and then LCDF got the reset on the high ground, then dropped back down to low ground to wipe Alliance. That was great. This was great from LCDF, right? I think LCDF won this, right, from the high ground? Yeah, they managed to get the reset up on high ground, as you see. And then I think, if I remember, they dropped down Alliance as late as possible after resetting as best possible and then wiping them in 3v3, right? And this was, thankfully, they had the Horizon, I think, right? Yes, LCDF did win it.
It was very comfortable
so thankfully
for them in the end.
Yeah. Thankfully, they had the Horizon to queue up to high and actually get the reset there, because that was insane after dropping down from high ground. Like, actually managed to stay alive. Thankfully, they were able to queue up to that with the Horizon just in time and reset.
Yeah, and you can
Really nice
see how many points they were able to get as well there. 12 placement points, of course, for the victory. 9 kills, 21 for La Cité de France in the end. And I do wonder whether maybe the respawn beacon, the mobile res that came down, just kind of gave Alliance a reason to push a little bit too aggressively, whereas La Cité de France had that high ground. But it was certainly an interesting match number 1. For match number 2, though, Shiv, again, I'll allow you to talk us through when we get there, as we're just taking a quick look at all of the points totals. There was a few more kills that were able to come back through from the likes of Aftermath, for example. They got 4 kills. August and Hungry picked up a couple. Kill points are going to be imperative for some of these squads who are not able to get into the late game. And then match 2 came along, and of course it was another chance for some of these teams who were able to harvest their evos in the early game and push themselves into this final circle. Talk me through this one, Shiv.
So I believe Aurora won game number 2 here, right? So they were playing the north side of the zone. They had a nice rock that they could play behind. There were 2 teams in each of the buildings in the survey camp here that had to run out. Not in the greatest of spots, need to run out here. Zone's pushing them out. So we also had Team Portugal on the high ground that was able to nade the team out. They got pushed out from zone though, from the height, and had to drop down and fight the teams on low ground. Aurora on the high ground. Team Portugal swing left to fight this team on low ground. Was as Made in Heaven, yes, and then Aurora third party from their north side that they were chilling from, I should say, and ended up third partying to win in the end. YQ though, trying to hold ground, gets 1 knock, but that's it, it's too much, and Aurora win game number 2 there with the third party in the end.
Really interesting, Shiv, too, to see the lifeline being picked up as we see the stats and we go through page 1. Aurora, Portugal, Made in Heaven kind of tying in overall points, and TSM Phoenix, ExoClan rounding it out. But looking to the back half, answer me this. Do you feel like Lifeline has a legitimate role in this meta across multiple teams, or is it just something that Aurora is making work?
I'm not sure. I've seen a few teams run it, like E6, 201C. We've seen Aurora here. Can we get a Lifeline res me for Hardeki here on Aurora? But I'm not sure. We'll see. I guess some teams can make it work or try and use it.
Makes a lot of sense. Verdict still out. One of the zones we haven't seen too often is kind of this Harvester zone. And as we get ready to go into that final circle, I want you, Shiv, to give me your thoughts on kind of how it played out. We know that Mark, he's the one who said Made in, you know, he lands down from the heavens. It was an iconic line. We saw Made in Heaven win that one. Multiple EMPs. I had brought up the difficulty in sometimes playing against, in a final circle, against that kind of Crypto Watson style where you have your own fight and you're just getting disrupted by these huge, feel like global ultimates that are impacting you. You know, what are some of the struggles that you're finding in season 20, particularly in end zones, if any, as we get a final chance to take a look at it?
So this game, there was a real mosh pit going on in Harvester, right? Tons of teams live, as expected in Harvester. I guess Caustic Ults would go crazy here. Maiden haven't won the high ground.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just going to play from up here, and they're able to rain down from above and shoot everyone below. And if they have a Caustic Ult, it would go even crazier here. I don't know if they had one, though. But either way, I mean, they just play from the high ground. Everyone's fighting underneath them, and yeah, they win it from height. But Caustic Ults would go crazy. I don't think a Bang Ult would actually be able to hit anyone here, so Caustic Ults would be the way for sure if you have for this end game here in Harvester. Crypto MP going out here as well from both teams. Yeah.
No Horizon being able to push up to that. We saw that work so well for Lasite de France earlier on, but we're getting into a lot of end games where she's just not around anymore, and Maiden Heaven just had no contest. What do you do as one of those teams on the bottom floor? Do you just fight in front of you and ignore Maiden Heaven, let them get the clear win? Because that seems like what we've been seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way of pushing Maiden Heaven there. I think they just had the high ground for free, honestly. Like, without Horizon, you can't really queue up and try and fight them. So I think everyone's just playing for low ground there and just trying to fight on low ground. And Maiden Heaven just win that for free. Unless the team can Horizon queue up on them. But I don't think anyone played Horizon there, right? Yeah.
No, nobody was playing Horizon. That's kind of the change that we've seen. You know, Lasite de France, Orglis in Hungary, you know, we're seeing a lot of these teams in that third game not have a great result. But overall, it's Team Portugal, Maiden Heaven, Aurora, LCDF, and Alliance who take out the top 5. They're really separating themselves amongst the pack. Shiv, as you take a look at these top 20 teams so far after 3, what's your takeaway, and who do you expect to continue this performance and take the day in EMEA over the next 3?
Portugal are doing really good. It's nice to see them first place. Netherland Dome and, you know, Crypto Watson, Valk, I believe. So it's really nice to see them do really well. Aurora continuing their domination as well. That's to be expected. Maiden Heaven actually doing pretty good right now. LCDF also a very strong fighting team. Alliance, you expect these teams to be doing super good. But it's nice to see Portugal and Maiden Heaven doing super well right now as well. And yeah, I hope to see, you know, we'll probably see Aurora, LCDF, and Alliance doing really well still. We'll see if Portugal and Maiden Heaven can keep up their top places here, though, as they switch to Stone Point. We'll see what happens.
Definitely one of the things that we can see now is some of these older kind of guard of EMEA doing really well on World's Edge. Great setup for our next games. Will it continue on Storm Point? Usually we've seen Orglis and Hungary in the past pop off on Storm Point and take days, but we'll have to wait and see with these next games. Hey, Shiv, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. I know that you took the time out of the day. You've been watching the games. Enjoy continuing to watch, and thanks for spending time with us here on the ALGS.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.
All right, Shiv FPS, good luck, 40% worse. He said they hadn't been having the best run, but, you know, Dan, there's still time. And especially with a brand new season, new meta, this could be, you know, the bump that they needed.
Yeah, I mean, this is crunch time, but as you say, there is still that possibility that you can break through. You just have to start performing at your very best now. You can't have any kind of dud weeks, any more match days that aren't going to be going well. So I'm expecting tomorrow to see a very fired up 40% worse.
All right, well, Dan, take a break. You've been doing great all up through these 3 games. We're going to send you on a little bit of respite as Mark and I handle this one. And of course, it's time for match number 4. Storm Point changes the game. Mark, we have yet to see Season 20 on this map. It means new legends, new pathing opportunities for these teams, and obviously, maybe a new standout squad.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness we have gameplay again and not awful videos of my face.
I like that.
That's apparently what I look like when I cast everybody, locked in. And yeah, I've got to say, maybe I need to work on that face. But anyway, we are on to Storm Point now, which is, of course, meaning a little bit of a change, I was going to say, in the pace of things. But already, we're seeing that in effect here as we have a contest over a lightning rod.
Look at this. Babylon's already throwing out the gravity lift. Not the most effective use of it, to be honest. And those cooldowns obviously getting hurt a bit. Trying to get back Horizon's power is now the name of the game. Some legends in Season 20, Mark, jumped out to this incredible buff in their abilities, just gaining more and more, better and better. Horizon, one of those characters that was tempered. In effect, slight nerf to the base of the character and trying to get back to the power, very much like Catalyst. And we've seen it actually have a huge impact. Not as many players playing it, but one player who is synonymous effect with Horizon still opting to go for the character who controls space and time. We'll see if he can do it with the triple tech here as he takes the high ground over Clemmy G.
Yeah, I wonder if Alliance were expecting this contest, and that's maybe why there is a Horizon pick, or maybe if it is something that's just here to be a part of their composition full stop. But you can see that Alliance want to force Vex away here. They don't want to give up both of these essentially like POIs. They want to be able to fight them and own them for the rest of these games, and Vex are going to find that out, and that's Effect in the kill feed, already taking down Babylon's. Hackers is going to go in and get the second, and even though he'll go down, you would imagine that this will be a very, very comfortable win, and those bullets there, pretty much an example of backing up what I thought might be the case. Just making sure he's dead, Rain Dead is what we have to do.
That's it as well. I mean, there's just a lot of frustration, I think, when someone tries to challenge you for a spot. And especially a team like Alliance, you can understand it. It means everything. You know, a game, you get 0 points. You know, sometimes we're getting into crunch time where it could be qualifying. It could be really a sense of safety going into those final days, or a sense of peril. And Alliance has been there. They've been in moments in playoffs past, Mark, where it's been the last day where they've actually qualified and had a chance to play in, for those regional finals and get to playoffs. So I can understand why just a little bit of relief, and also a bit of a statement sent. Don't try to do this again. Not sure if Vex will get the message, but we can certainly say that Alliance sent it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that Alliance weren't too good at, of course, when we were at LAN was the contests themselves. They lost the majority of them to DSG. So maybe the change, adding Unlucky, with all due respect to Yuki, the control player off drop, is certainly going to be something that I think wards a few teams off that might have been thinking about it. But we also have to remember that if we do get to LAN Alliance qualify, that a certain team solo mid like to land at Lightning Rod. So we'll have to see how that story develops. But ESG at the moment, they're pretty safe. They're on the other side of Stormcatcher at the moment. Speaking of zone though, Command Center is going to be bang in the middle of it, and you would imagine we're going to be moving either to the south of Command Center or maybe over to the west, or the east, the west. No, I was right, because it's good to see that my compass still isn't working after all this time. But it's certainly not going to be in Command Center itself. So these areas that we see ourselves right now, where these fights are taking place, this is going to be where we're going to have our end game.
Aftermath, I believe, going on Forge. I think we've seen Jay Savage go down in our kill feed there, unless this was somewhere else. But they've been a very consistent team fighting squad. Even with the Caustic, they've kind of tread that line. And yes, it is Forge inside the building. One of the benefits, though, of the Watson Catalyst coming back into the meta is that you can delay these fights. You can get back up. People are not going to push willingly onto that Caustic, and you could see that even though they've got one down, Aftermath maybe is putting themselves a bit more at risk, staying out in the open and not waiting and trying to continue this fight. So they're just going to rotate. Look, another team right away. As we said, they might have been taking a risk. They certainly did. And Aftermath, after getting a knock, are the ones who look in peril of dropping down.
Yeah, I always say, if you're fighting zone, you're fighting for a priority position, you have to get this fight done in under 30 seconds. Otherwise, you have to back out and rethink, because you know everyone else is rotating in. Just from the timings, everyone's trying to get towards zone. And if they see a fight breaking out with a couple of knocks in the kill feed, then they're going to send it as well. It's just an easy third party for one of the strongest positions on the map. So I think maybe a little bit of a misplay there from Aftermath, not getting that fight done quickly enough, and by doing so, not disengaging quickly enough. So a little bit to work on for them. But Passion, they're kind of overlooking things as well, and the moment it's a little bit of early, I would say, hard fighting for priority positions, and Aftermath have got to think about either getting a banner to get Stow back in the game, or just trying to survive and get out.
You know, there are a few crafters nearby. One of the things that can make that so interesting, so effective, the speed of being able to craft. And right now you see a supply package not willing to go for it yet. They've got bigger fish to fry as Aftermath at least get out there with their own banner and won't have to search for that any other way. But look at this. It may be just a day late and a dollar short. Artico, Sanya, and Max Strafey join in on Aftermath. That squad eliminated, and a level up for Passion. So Passion get all of the spoils of war, as unfair as it is to Aftermath, who are trying their hardest just to get out alive. And they get taken down in 19th position.
Yeah, it's just the domino effect, right? It's not being able to clean that first fight up quickly enough. You have to retreat as a 2, then you have to play for banner. All of this while it's going up on other teams are just going to be moving in, and as soon as they work out your duo, they're taking that fight. It's an easy win for Passion. But over at Stormcatcher now, you're going to see LVH up on the high ground. Beast of the Hunt has been popped, so they want to try and be aggressive on this fight. They want to try and use those scans to get info and get that first knock, but it doesn't look like anyone's showing.
Now, one of the things too is, you know, this Beast of the Hunt, we're seeing so much of it used. It is a very interesting conversation around perks that come in at level 2 or level 3. If you had a level 2 perk that allowed you to get either knocks or something of that value from your ultimate early on, you could start to see why maybe that would be a bigger choice, a more consistent choice, because you're looking at the totality of the game. That's 3-4 ultimates you're getting value from. As a level 3 perk, though, it starts to change, and there are other legends that have this kind of trade-off. Lifeline 1 that we mentioned too. that just makes this season so interesting in terms of you really do have to decide. It's not a guarantee. It's in this moment, am I going to get another ultimate that's going to have the value for it? ESG, meanwhile, during all this conversation, just kind of sitting back with the Caustic on blast, which is what you should do with the character. But Mark, yeah, I mean, Season 20 giving us these questions that maybe don't have an answer quite yet and are forcing players to answer them in the moment instead of coming with a set game plan for a lot of these mid-game choices.
Yeah, I think one of the teams who does have some answers, I would say at the moment, is Made in Heaven, winners of the last game on World's Edge, and now they are in a fantastic position for the end game. As we move over to Stormpoint, you can see that LVH, so they're taking a little bit of damage themselves. A couple of kills are going to be traded here though, Rain, and it looks like LVH will take down Pest Control pretty handily.
Jay Hanzo falls, but will get rezzed up pretty easily. Smoke on top, and they're fine right now. 18 points and in 7th overall on the day, which is a pretty good showing with 3 games left to go. You would expect them to hopefully keep that pace and keep it moving. Level 3 perk as well. Auto detect picked up from Lifen. And we've seen that across the board. 17 squads left. LVH just stabilizing, one of the few teams that have been able to do it. And I kind of also, I will say that I'm noticing, just watching, Mark, that there's a bit more, I don't know if it's Stormpoint as the adjustment or if it's just getting used to this new meta, but there is a bit more aggressiveness. Game 1 was pretty patient, but Game 2 and Game 3 and 4, I'm starting to see a lot more aggressiveness come out with these teams compositions that, to me, especially with the Caustic, we're not used to seeing Caustic teams play so aggressively. I wonder if this is a byproduct of metas past, people getting used to it, or if this is really what we're going to be seeing. Caustics running at you, fighting in the open more often than not, because that's not something that I'm used to watching.
Yeah, it's a change, right? You mentioned how it's a blue perk is the Nox gas, right? So it's not like you're having to wait for a very strong ultimate ability where you get that increased range. You can take a fight early with that Nox gas and blue armor, and you can be the aggressor as a Caustic. So it's not just about an endgame Caustic anymore. It's about an initiator. It's about someone who can demand space, become to your team with the Nox gas grenade. So Team Portugal at the moment are just going to have to survive. You can see the post kills banner has been collected. Kashera, unfortunately, is going to have to watch from the sidelines for the rest of this game, but there is that skyward dive to try and get out of the situation. Does have that extra ability, of course, with the perk, with a 15% more on the ult, just to get a little bit more height, which is another reason that we're seeing Valkyrie return to the meta. A little scam as well, of course, coming in, which is going to add to the Evo, but Team Portugal, who are in first place overall, we're going to have to work very hard to get back into this game.
Yeah, one of the things that really helped Valkyrie is just getting that fuel depot and the ability to get the extra 15% higher launch. Makes it a little bit more effective than that evac tower, and sometimes a little bit is all you need. 77 on the initial spray with the Volt, but it's not enough for LVH. Lifen now with the purple, trying to make something out of nothing. He's lost 2 teammates. Probably best to try to get out of here. He realizes this is a lost cause, and especially if he knows who that is. Kinda Tyler and Matafe, they are not going to lose that fight 3v1, so Lifen just trying to make it out alive.
Yeah, trying to make it out of line. It was TSM Phoenix who initially were in that fight with LVH, the third party from August and Hungary. So simple for them, and Lifen's done a pretty good job, to be honest, to get out. The only issue I think he might have here is running into a few teams who are going to be rotating through command center, just based off the fact that this is a POI that teams from the north and the east side of Stormpoint here are going to have to move through to get towards this end game. The team who's up on height at the moment is going to be Alliance. I wonder if they are going to stay up on height, as you can see on your map overhead, and maybe Valcolt a little bit later to try and get a spot as the fights start to break out. But that's where the zone's going to be pulling. You can see it's going to be moving over to the west side of Stormpoint. Made in Heaven, I mentioned them earlier. They're the team who are up on that height, and usually we see it pull to the top or just below that platform that they find themselves in right now. L'Équipe de France also just kind of hovering in the tunnel outside of Wall. They're going to be a really good spot as well.
As we see the zone start to pull up north, it's going to force these teams to collapse on each other even more. Team Portugal in behind, keep a lookout for them. And Made in Heaven, wow, sitting pretty right where the edge of that zone is going to end up being. Teams like LVH, Lifen just trying to stay in this zone. Aurora on the far edge of it. Currently third place, but
that's where Aurora was.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't see them. Here they are.
And they got that lifeline ready to go as well from Hardeki. Playing a little support Hardeki. I haven't really seen this version of him in a while. He's just, maybe he's grown, you know, not physically, but obviously, you know, just in his ability to, you know, say, I don't need to get all the kills, guys. And hey, if it's OJ Rain and 9 Impulse on your squad, that does kind of make sense.
going to say also it means that he's going to get the care package weapons, and all of a sudden he becomes very, very dangerous.
First dibs,
like,
yeah.
You know what? I'm going to sit back and guys, I'll play Lifeline because I'll do it. But I also say that physically he probably has got bigger as well, because I think last time I saw him at the gym, and trust me, guys lifting. Just saying, right?
Mad respect for Hardeki as well. Can't wait to see this guy land yet again, and it seems like Aurora certainly will be there if all goes according to the first half of this split, as we are now in our last game of our second round robin. But look at that, 9 Impulse is ready for it though. This was no problem at all. The DLC drone comes out as well, extra healing from Aurora, but Hardeki's still taking damage. He gets the shield battery off just in time though, Mark.
Yeah, or Reigns having to pop a battery as well, and it's August and Hungary who zone wrap Aurora, and what an amazing move this is. We'll jump into a listen in now as this fight takes place, as Kinda gets damage down.
On the left. Pop it off.
Keep going on. On the right side as well.
Yeah. Go hard, Kinda.
Right side.
I'm the one. Get. Scan, how long is scan?
No, 5. In front of us. Don't get one dead. Right side here.
Nice. More people, yeah. Chill now.
Yeah, so like
Aurora, in the corner, look. Look,
nice.
Aurora, alone inside.
Close left, I think. Careful.
Popping back.
Nah, we're good.
Red box here. Maybe try and loot the box corner. Could be wingman or something.
I will try. Yeah, do it.
No, just red armor. They have blue, by the way. They're on the blue. Okay. We will turbine them. Just, you have Bengal? I have Bengal. Let me just wait into double smoke. Okay, yeah, double smoke, Bengals, and we just get close and fuck them up.
Orglis and Hungary now find their way through one squad, but find themselves in front of another obstacle. It's Made in Heaven who are in front of them, but the gambit has paid off, no pun intended. Speaking of Hardeki, I really do think that now, because they're on the north side, it's just one team to deal with, and especially when you see the multitude of teams, maybe 9-10 teams mark on the south. They have one good team in front of them, but they at least have a chance to really be in God's spot if they can make it past.
Yeah, really, really strong push from them. They took down Aurora, which is always difficult to do. Alliance fell in the meantime as well. ExoClan now eliminated. 202 win, but the team, like you mentioned, who is still in that great position is Made in Heaven. But the information we heard from that listening is that Orglis and Hungary, I think, are purple, red at the moment. I'll make that purple, as it might have been an Evo core that was picked up by Matafe to give him temporary red armor. And they know the team inside here have got blue armors, so they want to take this fight. They know they have the advantage.
Wow, and you know what? You don't even need to take this fight. You can kind of hold this building at least temporarily underneath and above, but they lose kind of right away. I think they got a little too aggressive for my taste, but they probably felt there's nothing else to do. 30 seconds left, and that's the magic number. So they've got to go ahead and make it happen before teams start to show up. Beautiful spray there from Tyler. It's so much, and they're able to take down Tax. Could this be a turnaround for Orglis and Hungary?
Oh, here comes the third party, though. I mean, August and Hungary got the first knock, but like you say, it was traded out and became a 2v2. Tyler went in and got some more damage, but then the third party appears. Everyone was waiting, and that's what I mean. If you can't get the fight done in 30 seconds, you have to rethink, but I'm not sure that August and Hungary had an opportunity to rethink that situation. It was an all-or-nothing situation for them, and unfortunately, it ends up with both teams falling, and Lecite de France just taking the opportunity.
An unbelievable, guess who it is? It's Forge, actually, on the other side as well, who are helping to KP a little bit of that and pay dividends, as well as Passion. So Made in Heaven, they end up escaping. One player is still alive, but Lecite de France take that full win as a trio. While the shots are firing from range, they clean up yet again with perfect timing to put themselves in a position of top 10 and high ground. I mean, there's really no better spot to have here in this zone, at least the way it's pulling now. Onset, and so that seems to be that LC DF have now made another good choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect opportunity for them. I mean, August and Hungary not getting that fight done quickly pretty much gave them Godspot. It was a very simple third party for them. You saw the Horizon Q to get them up to that position. They were just waiting and biding their time to take the opportunity when it came, and now they have Godspot. They can work their way down towards zone. All of the teams that they're going to be fighting and going up against, they're going to have the high ground over. And speaking of the high ground, here's JMW, and look at that spray with a Volt.
Already on a red, JMW working that Volt to the max here as well with a Hemlock. He's got range and he's got damage from all sources. And look at this high ground is going to be so good. You would hope for a nade right here. Maybe this is where you're hoping and praying for that early maybe undervalued Horizon perk where you can see grenades through walls and rocks and things like that. He's going, you know, I don't need that. I know if I had one I'd use it. ESG may be thankful for that as they're playing downhill with Go Next to the left, but Lecite de France still up top. Squad's completely adjusted here now. I think we only have 6 remaining, Mark, and this is kind of setting up to the stabilization point where we're going to wait to see some action right as this circle starts to move.
I mean, ESG haven't got to go far to zone, and other teams are going to have to fight in front of them. Made in Heaven do lose that solo player, so now we have ourselves with 6 squads remaining. Other teams will have to fight. Stay Healthy now gone as well, but they will have to at some point walk up that hill. So difficult game to win. The issue here, I would say, for Le Site de France is the team on our screen right now, and that's going to be the Forge, because they have a little bit of cover here. And as Le Site de France are having to inch down towards that zone as it closes in behind them, they might be in position to put some shots in, but ESG now, they're in trouble. Go Next trying to push.
Go Next finding a great angle on ESG. There's really nothing that they can do. This should absolutely be Go Next taking the win, and it's going to force Light into a very awkward position, trying to stay alive and hope that another team can take away Go Next's attention. A 1v1v1 is not going to be able to happen. It's just not enough space. And even though he's running the auto ping, there's no need to know the information of where these enemies are. He does a good job, though, at making it difficult. And this means that Go Next now have to decide, are we going to look behind ourselves? Do we have enough time to look behind ourselves? Because JMW and LCDF, as well as Forge, are now looking at Go Next, and somehow, oh my goodness, Go Next is eliminated. And that leaves just 2. It's LCDF, and I believe it's Forge.
Yeah, Forge and LCDF, this is the 2 teams who were walking in from the highest point on the map. LCDF certainly have the better position now, though. As you can see, kind of has to take a few seconds just to pop that med kit. But this is an interesting one, right? You're looking at zone, and you say Forge have zone. They have the longest survivability time, and Le Site de France will have to fall from this high ground. Is there any ultimates available in this fight? You can see Psychop doesn't have the Rolling Thunder, and you would imagine he's not going to have it available, but Zidane does have the Black Hole. He throws it in, and now they take that opportunity to push while all of the vision is impaired.
And now they've got full high ground, and this is the big shift. Just because the Black Hole is there, it means that they are forcing it. And Zidane, yes, he's going to take that damage, but because of the gravity lift, he almost gets out of it. Not enough, though, Mark, and it seems like LCDF are losing 1. They're losing 2. It's going to be Forge to maybe take it. Yes, Forge! They forge their way to victory, and they take the first game on Storm Point.
I gotta say, that was a fascinating battle, that end game. It was a straight 3v3, but there was a couple of little things that changed the trajectory of that fight, right? You saw Zidane, he threw his Black Hole Horizon ultimate in to try and give them the opportunity to cross in towards the zone, to give them a fair 3v3 fight where they weren't gonna be essentially an LOS as they had to leave that high ground. The counterplay to that was the Nox Gas. You saw it land at his feet when he'd taken damage. He kind of looked down. He was like, oh, I can try and Horizon Q out of this, but I can see the damage was already done. And there is the example of how devastating that Nox Gas can be. It gives you ability to zone out teams, to do damage as they push, and then it's just a 3v2. You should be winning those.
And I mean, it's great heads up play by Forge as well to swing wide on that rotate and still play cover. There's a lot of different ways that they could have done that. They kind of could have turtled a bit, played more defensive, but they traded damage with Zidane, who was getting plenty of damage back off onto 2 of those players. And I have to also mention, remember that first fight where, you know, I forget the team that was pushing. Maybe your memory serves a little bit better than mine during all of this, Mark, but there was a team pushing Forge originally that we followed along throughout the course of the game. Forge lost 1 and was able to stabilize. That's the same building they were able to hold to ultimately lead to a win. So these moments on moments on moments, the domino effect truly paying dividends for them. And this time it resulted in a much needed W for a team that's always kind of on that edge of being able to qualify or not for our playoffs.
I mean, those, I mentioned it in the previous game, right? It's Made in Heaven. We weren't really talking about them coming into today because of where they were in the standings, but we know how outside of the top 4 or 5 in EMEA at the moment, it's kind of still a bit of an open race as to who's going to qualify for those lands. And 1 win, 2 wins in a game day, the amount of points you get for 1 game day can just throw you up those leaderboards as we take a look at the match 4 results here.
LCDF always with a win, already with a win, excuse me, and now they're just getting a 2nd place, more KP, more points. That's going to be something they're happy with, even though ultimately they would have liked the W. But Forge, maybe the biggest story here, 20 points. That will boost them up quite a bit over their standings. Teams who we expected maybe a little bit more, it could have gone Made in Heaven or Orglis and Hungary's way, but it went neither. Orglis and Hungary with 5 points after a really good wrap, getting Aurora out of the game, meaning they placed in 15th. Alliance also nowhere to be seen alongside TSM Phoenix. So with just all of this underway in game 4 and our first game on Storm Point, The next two are going to be scintillating. Just a little comparison mark here between Forge and LCDF, our final two teams.
Yeah, very similar game, and the only difference was who won the last fight, really, wasn't it? You're looking at kills, a few between them, placement points, understandably, the difference between first and second, assist pretty close. LCDF, excuse me, no surprise to see them doing a little bit more damage because they did win the fight for that building up on height towards the end game, so they were able to rain down a few more bullets. But I think it goes back, you know, I mentioned it, the one team that LCDF have to worry about most is the Forge, because they were the team who are going to be coming down alongside them, kind of parallel from the high ground, and it would be an even fight towards the end if they didn't turn their attention to them. Unfortunately, they weren't able to because of everyone else that was in front of them, and the Forge just played that last fight so well. It was difficult for Le Site de France to leave that height and really be in a position to win it.
Mark, this is the difference. 20 points has put Forge from what had to have been 18th place all the way into 7th with 25 total points heading into our next two games of Storm Point. Whether this is a Storm Point shift or whether it's a little bit of luck how that first fight turned out or great skill executed into even more opportunity, either way, this is what we need to see from Forge if they're going to continue on this path to qualify for LAN and be in that top 5 consistently. We know LCDF can do it. We know Aurora can do it. I mean, we've seen Made in Heaven be able to do it in Orglis and Hungary as well. Will Forge jump into that top 5? All of that to be discovered here with 2 more games left on Storm Point coming up right after this.
Welcome back, everybody. The ALGS will continue as we fly through. Here. I think my vMix has exploded. Hopefully we're good now. Hopefully you're with us, everybody. Hopefully, Dan, you can hear me. Can you hear me, Dan? This is the most important thing.
I can hear you. We're doing well. We're doing well. It's
goodness.
You never really know. Mine exploded as well. I started hearing voices in my head. I didn't know if I was Randy Orton or what, but here we are. And I'm very excited to get into match number 5. And I was able to watch from the back, just see how Storm Point played out. I was trying to work out if it's easier, harder to get Evo shields. Of course, we saw what had happened on World's Edge with Trials being the better POI, but it does seem like people are utilizing the wildlife as best as possible to get those Evo shields as high as possible.
Well, the weekend of action has obviously been pretty good so far. We've got tomorrow as well, but it continues into Monday, everybody, because the Challenger Circuit Finals is coming up as well. That's right, the Challenger Circuit, which of course feeds into the Pro League that you're going to be seeing. You can catch all of the action from EMEA and North America Finals this Monday, thanks to our friends over at Versus GG. You can tune in. You can see the times in front of you. We've got Dia and Graceful going to be casting. That's going to be something to catch as well. And Tom and TMT Church are going to be taking hold of North America a little bit later on. You can watch that at twitch.tv/versus_GG_. And again, thanks to our friends over at Versus GG for broadcasting that. So make sure you tune in. Apex, 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 Dan. Apex.
All of the Apexes, and maybe they can be some of the teams that we'll eventually be seeing in Pro League as well. I mean, there's some big faces in Challenger Circuit at the moment, so very excited to see if any of them can start to progress and build a new team and maybe a new dynasty. Okay, maybe it's a little early for a dynasty, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that's going to go and see if there's some new names that come up and join us in the Pro League, like you say. But now to turn our attention back to what we've been seeing, and this is the story of the series so far, because we're getting through it, Dan. We've got to be honest, we are flying through these games today in EMEA. Match number 4 was won by the Forge, and now we move on to match number 5 on Storm Point. Just 2 more to go today, but in fact, we've had different winners on every single map. I think the one consistent has been LCDF. Feel like they've been there or thereabouts in all of them, Dan.
Yeah, they seem to know exactly how they want to position themselves. Again, they are rotating a little bit later. They are more than happy to kind of play edge a little bit more than other squads. We've also seen Team Portugal, for example, really pushing the boat out in World's Edge, but not able to find the same success so far in match number 4 on Storm Point. If they can find the zone-heavy kind of positions they were able to do so in matches 1, 2, and 3, then we know they're going to benefit from it. The Season 20 changes have been great for Kashira. Back we did see a few changes legend-wise, as we would expect from World's Edge to Storm Point. I think we knew that was going to happen. People were experimenting a little bit here and there, but ultimately, I guess what we expected after scrims.
Yeah, with a little bit of a server reset there, as you can see. We'll get back into the game and bring you game number 5 as soon as we can. In the meantime, it does give us, I would say it's the one probably show, Dan, that we do have enough to talk about when we get these little breaks, and enough to kind of keep us going, I would say, for weeks, to be honest, with all the changes that we have seen. And one thing that was very noticeable there on Storm Point, in my opinion, was it felt like there wasn't as many red Evos towards the end of that game as we've seen in previous on World's Edge. I don't know if that's because people didn't have the time to hit the PvE, whatever it might have been on the map to level those Evos up, but just a little bit of a difference that we saw in comparison to World's Edge.
I think that there's a lot less space to play at times on Storm Point. There's a lot less buildings. People aren't playing as zone heavy because you're going to be in more open areas. Therefore, there are a few like earlier scraps, and people all kind of diving to get to Evo harvesters here and there, and then having to run away from each other. So no one's getting the comfortable power thing that they probably would like, similarly to World's Edge, where, for example, these Edge teams who were on red, they weren't having to fight anyone because everyone was like, oh, well, we can just play zone here. We've got a zone-heavy composition, so we'll just move. And then teams like LCDF, for example, had the entirety of the northern side of the map, so they could grab every Evo harvester they want. They could grab any survey beacon they want. It's a bit more spread out on Storm Point. Everyone is kind of here nor there, and it means that you don't have that same kind of comfortable situation where you can grab whatever you want wherever it is.
Yeah, you can't move from building to building as well, which is always a nice thing on World's Edge, right? You move from one POI, it's like, I've got a few buildings just to reset here, wait till that zone's closing, and then think about where the next Evo, all of that kind of process. It feel like it's a little bit more kind of fluid on Storm Point. And it's one of the things I love about it, right, is the fact that we do have these unpredictable rotations now. We do have the fact that teams are going to run into each other because they've had to maybe go a little bit north, out their way to a southern zone to get an Evo harvester. I also want to see the point, by the way, and I wonder if this is going to be a LAN thing, by the way, where somebody rats out one of those Evo harvesters, because I can see that happening. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of want to see it happening.
You mean just like an ambush, setting up for it?
Yeah, I think an ambush is a much more professional word to use
than ratting out on it. But yeah, I mean, we haven't necessarily seen it today, but I mean, it happens in ranked all the time. And I know ranked is a little bit more different because you don't necessarily have the money on the line of the Pro League, so you don't want to just throw your game away. But I think as we get closer to LAN and as we get closer to people griefing others to stop them from getting to LAN, let's say they are close to your POI or they have been contesting your POI in previous times, yeah, you might see people say, well, actually, we know this team typically takes this route and is going to take this Evo harvester. Why don't we just wait and then we can take them out and we get some free KP? I think it will happen.
I can see DSG doing it. Oh
And they are
my
the type of team.
goodness. Imagine DSG do it to TSM. Oh, part 2 of the Ratting story. We'll have to see if that develops. And let me tell you, hopefully one of them is watching right now. I've just planted a seed. But let's talk about LCDF, because I've been super impressed with them today, Dan. I feel like their decision making has been really on point, especially in and around those end games. Their rotates have been pretty solid, but every single time that I've seen them involved in an end game, it's because they've picked an opportunity and taken a fight an opportune moment, which has created, you know, a place for them to play for a longer time towards the end game. We just saw it in that last game where August and Hungary were trying to fight in and around that building. They weren't able to clean the fight up quickly, so it created an opportunity that was immediately taken. And those split-second decisions are usually the difference between a team ending up in the top 8 or ended up in the top 3. And I think they've done that really well today.
Yeah, I think the benefit they have of, you know, playing Trials in World's Edge is they have a lot of time to think about their decisions, which maybe will struggle more in Stormpoint because you're going to, of course, get pressed a little bit more. There's going to be more teams on your rotation. But because not as many teams are playing Edge as we would expect, or as we have seen in previous seasons, and a lot of people are playing Zone, those who do play Edge are given far more time to plan out their actions. And survey beacon information is going to be massive for a team like Lecce de France, because yes, they're going to be landing late, or they're going to be pushing in late, whether they want to take an evac tower or whether they just want to brute force their way in. But they can get every little bit of info each time they hit that survey beacon. They were hitting like maybe 3 or 4 survey beacons on that northern side before they even started thinking about where they wanted to play. So they just have all that extra info that a lot of the other teams who are playing Zone haven't been able to have. And that's why I'm just so impressed with their positioning, but also you can understand why, because they have the tools and the utility to do so.
Yeah, I think survey beacons is one of the main reasons that we're seeing, I would say, the move away from Horizon. Just when you're looking across compositions, like what can a composition offer a team? It's like Horizon is a great fragger. We know that, right? We've seen it for so long, but I would say the fact that Bloodhound can be that fragger and that entry fragger for a team and on your most aggressive player who, you know, stereotypically might have played Horizon in past metas, the fact that you have the ability to hit the survey beacons, gain that Evo even off of drop, but plus, like you're saying, on your path in and your rotate towards where you want to get towards that end zone, it's not just free information, it's information that's valuable on top of the fact that you're getting the Evo, right? And I think that might be one of the reasons we're seeing Horizon slightly move to the side, because Bloodhound just offers more in a team composition with the new Evo core system.
Yeah, I don't think Horizon offers enough at the moment, and especially with Caustic being in the meta, it kind of counters a little bit, because you're pushing into what? You try and push into something and then suddenly there's just gas everywhere, whereas Horizon was all about initiating pushes. And yes, okay, it's about gaining high ground as well, but what good is gaining high ground on a team if they're set up with caustic barrels, for example? So we are starting to see less Horizon, which is a shame, because I've always been a big fan of Horizon, but I'm sure that she'll be popping in and out. And as we saw today, there's still existing. It's not like she's completely out of the meta. It's just not a high pick rate like it has been in previous times. I just want to touch one more time on kind of POIs here, because you mentioned it as well. Stormpoint, we're not seeing as many red Evos being built up, but on World's Edge, we were definitely seeing it from certainly the northwest side of Trials. And that leads me to believe that we're going to see more people start trying to fight for some of the bigger and better POIs as teams start to realize which POIs are better. In North America, Dark Zero have Trials. Here in EMEA, it's LCDF, Lecce de France. So we're going to now start to see teams say, okay, well, do we think this team should have one of the best POIs? Should we be challenging them? And for the teams who are at those POIs, are they going to start to think about trying to eliminate teams who are close by and maybe taking them off?
It's a very good point that you make, and we'll have to see if that does develop. And in the meantime, before we head into game number 5, let's take a look back at the final circle that we just saw from game 4. And speaking of Lecce de France, they certainly were involved in this fight. And I think it gives us an opportunity, actually, Dan, to look through how the final fight went down, because it's always fascinating, right? It's very rare in an endgame in Apex Legends competitive in the ALGS that we see a straight 3v3. No other interference coming in from teams, just 2 teams standing off against each other.
And I love straight 3v3s because you get to have an insight of the brains of these players individually and as a team. Of course, the IGL can call the shots in a fight, but individually you still have to step up in that moment. And whether it's about taking a slightly different angle or supporting your teammate from another angle, you're going to learn a lot about the players and their playstyle, and it can all be defined by the legend that they're on as well. I mentioned earlier, if you are a caustic, you need to be thinking about your positioning because you are going to be vulnerable and you are going to be a target. So Phoenix playing on the caustic has to be suddenly saying, all right, well, I want to be the last to engage, but I also want to be using whatever tools and whatever equipment I have available to get these gas barrels down. It's very easy to forget about your utility when you start to get engaging in those gunfights. You have to keep that in the back of your head. But yeah, straight 3v3s, I love it in Apex Legends. That's why I loved arenas when they were a thing as well. So it's just certainly something that we have to always give credit to a team when they win those engagements, when they win those 3v3s, and Forge were able to come out on top.
Yeah, I think Forge having the advantage, of course, of having zone and LCDF having to make the play on them makes it a little bit more simple for them, but hitting the shots and making sure that that cross is as treacherous as possible is exactly what they did. So congratulations to them for winning that previous game as we now move into game number 5. Back into the live action, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us. We're back on Storm Point. We've got 2 games to go.
I'm just having a look early at seeing which kind of POIs have both Ring Console and Survey Beacon, because that's always going to be strong for early Evo upgrades. So Zeus is going to be one of the better positions. The Wall you could probably make work as well. So those are going to be 2 very strong positions on the northern side, and I imagine the circle, just from what I've seen, is going to be pulling slightly south, but we'll see that when the circle information comes through. You've also got plenty of survey beacons spawning in the southwest side of the map, so anyone going down towards Cenote can get a lot of information in the late game.
Well, Vex are going to be challenging once again, and I think they're trying a hard challenge, but Alliance beat them on that flight path, so you can now see it's about trying to survive, and I'm pretty sure they haven't really got guns, so Unlucky should have a bit of fun here, to be honest with you. It should be just how many kills can we get? I'd be playing with my food right now, Dan. I'd be kind of just saying, hey, I'll try and punch them out. Punch them out. Come on, Alliance. You've got guns. They don't. Easy win.
Yeah, this is going to be a comfortable one. They will want the squad wipe, of course, for the Evo points. But it's whether they'll actually be able to get it. Babylon's is gonzo. Doesn't fancy that one.
Finisher coming in from Unlucky, by the way. Look at this. I don't know what's happening in the observer mode. It looked like his leg was getting really long. But he is beating him to a pulp, and that's going to help him level up the Evo, of course. Finisher equals Evo points, which equals Smile. If you're Alliance, by the way, not Vex. That equals, like, upside down Smile.
And I think Alliance are chasing Vex here as well. You can see that Unlucky might still be here, but in the distance, you could see that the cannon was sent on another side as TSM Phoenix also involved in a little scrapperoo. We'll have to see whether they're able to come out on top, but they were able to at least get one.
So now that the dust has settled for just a few seconds, as I say that, Kyrie finds some really good shots for that Hemlock to break another shield. They're trying to chase down these final players as well. And it's Bardo who's probably thinking, just leave me alone. Just let me live my life. Gets the battery off, but TSM Phoenix trying to chase him down. On the Gibraltar, by the way. The human fortress right now, Bardo. And poor old Pest Control as a 2. Bubble is a good indication of where a player is. I will say that.
Come on, Bardo. I believe
in Bardo. Oh.
Imagine.
I believe. Pest Control eliminated. Oh. Hopefully we can get back into a different observer. Maybe it's the game. Who knows?
He got eliminated so hard that it forced the observer out of the game. The observer was just a massive Gibby fan. Wasn't happy about it, so we'll just move on to the next one.
Yeah, I respect that. Aftermath in the Trident. A bit of a weird start to this game, hasn't it? To be honest with you. In the Trident, it gives us a chance to maybe just mention about the Tridents and how POIs with Tridents, I feel like they've been buffed pretty significantly with the fact that you have to do a little bit of scavenging now on Storm Point to get those Evo calls up.
Yeah, I mean, you can get the speed boost to get towards Evo Harvesters, for example. I mean, just having any sort of ability to move quickly in your pathing route is going to allow you to get an advantage over other teams. It could even be to get to a survey beacon quickly, for example, or you could just play it the good old-fashioned way, like Aftermath are doing, for a quick rotation. They're going to be hitting the far south side of kind of Echo in between Coastal Camp just to try and find a spot that they can hold, because we are going to be heading completely south. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up somewhere around Echo, to be honest.
Wouldn't be an ALGS without an Echo HQ zone. Come on, everybody. We all know this. We knew it was coming. It might pull back towards Pylon, but I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. But let's all cross our fingers that it does. Stay healthy. Trying to make their way towards zone as well. Blue armors at the moment. And there's a Potential for a care package in front of them, I think. If I'm not mistaken, if my eyes don't elude or lie to me. Elsewhere, just look at Alliance. They're obviously taking their time to loot up now, having dealt with Vex. They've got all of Lightning Rod to play with. They've also got Evo Harvesters near them as well. They're picking up at the moment. Aurora, who played it the last game a little bit late in zone and got wrapped on themselves. It was almost Aurora got the Aurora treatment themselves. It's something that they've done historically extremely well, zone wrap on people. But Aftermath inside of the zone at the moment. 202 going to be joining them. And Aftermath on this staircase, this is a really good spot to hold, actually. You can kind of poke up and around the teams that are inside, but you can also do a lot of damage output to anyone rotating in from the east side.
Yeah, I think this is a good zone for Caustic teams as well. It's a more predictable one on Storm Point, so people are going to be moving very quickly to Echo, as TSM Phoenix, again, are going to be in a little bit of confrontation over towards Jurassic. Of course, TSM Phoenix dropping at Jurassic. Loot was buffed here, so it makes it a little bit easier to have it as a drop spot POI, but you're also going to be right dead center of people's rotations. So if you are not quick to loot, and if you are griefed, which of course we saw them have an early fight, then you are going to have people arriving and dealing even more damage to you when they get there.
Wingman in the hands of Falcons, and you can see still that even though it doesn't have a digi on it, which, I mean, let's all send a moment of thanks to the fact that that was changed. It still hits very, very hard, and especially with those headshots, the 45 body damage is enough with the rate of fire, but the 95 headshot is a game changer itself. I'm sure there's still a few pro players out there who are calling for that to be maybe just adjusted a little bit, as am I, I will say. Cold though, under a little bit of duress at the moment. Urban, he's already gone down, so it's only the two of them trying to hold off this push.
And again, they do have the ability of just holding the fort with the Caustic. Again, it's important that Graceful stayed up. We saw this previously on World's Edge, where they were able to do quite a lot of work as a 2. It's whether they're going to even be able to get that banner. I don't think at the moment they're going to be thinking about it. As you can see, Strafey's just taking a lot of damage. These were the kind of areas you were talking about of damage output. When you have this high ground over people who are rotating in, you can do so much work from here.
Matafe gets the kill. We're all now seeing Catalyst back in the equation as well, I should say. Tanya down, Artico down as well. Last player is trying to escape, not going to be able to do so. That's Passion eliminated, who coming into this week down in the restart of the ALGS. Really good spot in the overall standings, but they've kind of struggled to get anything going today.
Yeah, I think that it's sometimes any given day, you know, with Apex Legends, you can have bad days, you can have good days, but it's worrying the further you get into the season, because the bad days are going to be even more impactful, because suddenly that's your chances of LAN that could be slipping through your fingers, right? So 2 games left, you need to be making sure that you don't allow that bad day to continue as a bad day, as LVH get Hanzo back on his feet, and it looks like they have found quite a comfortable position here. And again, Caustic's ever prevalent and also very important in this final circle.
And this is why probably when we were looking at the perk trees when they first came out, and we're looking at the perk trees now as we see 120 shots coming in from Vibes. That is a beautiful spray with the Havoc. To get that first knock, I tell you what, Life follows it up. You don't want to fight LVH right now. They aren't missing. They are just hitting heads.
Up to Red as well. Thankful for the care package they were able to grab on the way. You can always tell when 2 are blue and someone is red, they've definitely hit a care package to be able to get one of the Evo caches. But that means that Lifen is going to be a very important factor for this squad going into the late game, as the zone does continue to pull to the southeast, further towards Echo, as we would expect. So most teams have already made it there. There's a few that aren't. I mean, TSM Phoenix, we already saw the confrontations they were having, so they're going to be late. Forge, Les Eat de France, Aurora, our typical edge teams that we have been seeing so far today. And then you have August and Hungry, who were kind of griefing teams from the high ground they were in earlier as well.
Also, just go back to the point I was trying to make, is that you can see why Bangalore players at the moment are choosing the Cover Me perk when it gets to purple, right? It's because of the smokes that go down, because of the caustic gas. All of it just gives you a little bit of information to kind of battle against that without having to hit a Bloodhound scan. So you can reposition yourself to stay alive. It's information-based kind of progress that you can make, instead of having to sit inside of a smoke where, you know, with a scan, you can become a little bit of a sitting duck.
It's something that's always been one of the biggest factors of Apex Legends is info. I mean, Sia was one of the biggest meta changes we saw because of the amount of info that he was able to give to a team. We always knew Bloodhound was able to do it as well, and now there's some extra little bit of info that Bangalore can give you, so it does make a lot of sense. As August and Hungry start to move their way in, they try to get a little bit closer to Echo. They do have smokes just to stop the likes of Team Portugal being able to see them from above.
August and Hungry safe for now, but they will have to keep progressing. Team Portugal's trying to output some damage. You're looking at damage at the moment, and you're looking at how they're going to level up those Evos maybe towards purples. And this was something we were talking about, right? It's if you play zone, you're probably going to have to play it with blues for the majority of the game. But the fact that August and Hungary are having to play with blues themselves, by the way, Matafi's on the lifeline. Shout out to him and the lifeline meta, which is all of a sudden stonks rising in EMEA. It makes it a little bit easier for them because they're not finding a team coming in from edge with purples who have hit the PvE, who have hit those care packages. It's a straight 3v3, but they just have the advantage of zone.
God, this is going to be a messy final circle. I'm just looking at the...
It's Echo HQ, man. It's always a mess.
It's chaos already. It's hard to even read the team names on the map overhead at the moment because they're just all on top of each other already. And you've still got some of the big hitters to arrive, like Le Site de France, for example, who probably are on purples, knowing them, and... if they're going to have the ability to kind of pick and choose where they want to go with the survey beacon information they're going to be having as they kind of march from north to south. Let's talk about Team Portugal. I mean, it's been trials and tribulations for Kashira, right? He's been through a lot. He tried to build this team with South American players, move them over to Portugal. It didn't work out. Goes back to the tried and tested, tried and true, and now Season 20 seems to allow Team Portugal to play the way they want to play, and they seem to be at the top of their game.
Send out the post-kill banner, or the post-kill light, and all of a sudden he turned up. Dressed as Batman, weirdly. Anyway. It's certainly working, and it shows that chemistry is something that you can't really... You know, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. And we know that Kashira and Postkill have fantastic chemistry together as players, and they've had success in the past. We always talk about that. Unfortunate, I would say, moment where they couldn't quite close out the LAN event, but so close to doing so. In the meantime, I mean, you were right. Look how many teams are stacked up in Echo at the moment. Everybody's on top of each other. Everybody has got a place to play. There's room underneath. There's room in buildings. There's room up on the high ground. It almost reminds me of the older kind of central end zones that we used to see on Fragment East, Fragment West, right? Where teams on World's Edge would all be stacked up upon each other, and we just have these crazy end games.
Well, it's funny because when we were talking about the differences between World's Edge and Stormpoint leading into this game, and I was saying, you know, so much open areas, you're going to see a few more fights because people are going to be pushed together, but then you get a zone like this, which is far more predictable, and there are more positions that you can play, so it's understandable why we see so many squads still alive here.
Yeah, I think it's one of the changes on Stormpoint full stop, right? Some of these southern zones became more playable for the northern landing teams. There's just more places to play and fight in from. Previously, it was like a little bit, if you're trying to move to the south, you're kind of in trouble a little bit. Vex eliminated in the meantime, so 16 squads now remain. It was Babylon's who was trying to survive, but gets sniffed out by Zidane, and that's going to be a free kill and a free point for them. And LCDF. Dare I say it, as, you know, there's a lot of French contingent on this team. Arsenal fans, red and white, just saying. Could becoming a fan. It could be becoming a fan of them.
A stretch, but I'm all for it, and I believe it as well. But yeah, they're on reds again. I mean, Le Site de France doing so well. So not only are they finding the ability to get to reds, but we'll talk about that later as Forge now, as they arrive, are instantly involved into the action right in the midst of it.
I mean, this is what their Valkyrie and caustic combination can do, right? This is what I meant when we were talking about when we were prepping for this, right? You work your way up to purples, you slam your way into zone with the Valkyrie, and then you can set up and take a spot away so easily. As long as you have that caustic ult available, you can force a team away from you that are close and claim a spot as your own, and that is such a good rotate from them to force their way into that position. They had to expend, of course, the caustic ult to do it, to force the team away, but that's exactly what it's there for, to force that team away and give them a spot to play.
Yeah, now they can just hold it as well. I mean, you not only get the ability to force away, but the ability to reinforce it as well and hold down that position, as Aurora are going to be moving in late. Again, another team that has the ability to get up to red is going to be Hard Decky on the lifeline with the care package getting up onto red, so not the whole squad like Le Site de France. But now, actually, with that Evo Harvester, suddenly it's 2 out of the 3. So we're really seeing two teams who traditionally used to play Edge back in the day, Aurora and Le Site de France, still finding a way to play Edge effectively, arguably more effectively now in this season.
Well, they're going to be picking up more kills here. Le Site de France. France is going to be trying to survive, but it's just a case of, am I going to let the zone do the work for them, or am I just going to, unfortunately, find myself on the receiving end of some more bullets? It's just about finding the kills right now. The wall will go down very soon. You can see one player given the responsibility to finish that off, and TSM Phoenix will be eliminated as we find ourselves now with 16 squads. Let's see France fully in red and white, and also, like you mentioned, the other team with red and white at the moment is going to be Aurora. Alliance, though, they've worked their way down now. They're trying to force their way into zone, but this is a tough rotate for them, Dan, with all of the teams. As we look at our map overhead at just the right time, they're in the top right there. Look, all the teams they're going to be in the line of sight on as they try and force their way towards Echo.
Yeah, no Valkyrie, so they're not going to be able to shoot themselves up into the sky with the ultimate, but they do have an evac tower to work with. But again, landing this late at Echo is not going to be very achievable without a caustic to kind of space things for you. So we'll have to see what Alliance go for. The Seat of France in a similar position.
The Seat of France. It's like they're just like, let's sit down. Let's talk about what we want to do next.
Because they're going in blind here, right? Like,
yeah.
If they have an evac tower, which you'd imagine they do, just judging off their position at the moment and how long they're waiting. So we're going to see 2, maybe 3 evac towers all launch up into the sky at the same time. So if you are one of those teams who's in Echo right now, it's eyes to the sky. It's making sure you do enough damage to anyone who's landing near you so that they don't try and take your position.
I think Aurora kind of sniffed them out as well.
Yeah.
You can see that they're very aware of the zone wrap. That is the evac tower that you can hear. Also, they're going to pop one themselves, so this might actually allow the Seat of France to kind of get the timing on this. If they can go around this corner and Aurora leave, they might be able to hit theirs and then maybe get in towards zone. But instead, it's Le Seat de France just kind of flying in blind. Like you say, if they find somewhere to play from here, this will be fascinating and brilliantly done. And look at that. They can find somewhere to play, but it's not the greatest spot, but at least it's somewhere.
At least they've got smokes, and with the amount of teams that are still alive, you are likely to at least find somewhere that's temporary, but whether it's going to be a game-winning position, I mean, that's an entirely different discussion. Alliance also seem to be able to walk their way in just from the northern side, using all of this kind of commotion that's happening at the moment as a distraction technique and taking their opportunity to walk in as well.
August and Hungary kind of scarpering on the southern side of the zone. You can see they've only got blues at the moment, which is going to be a real impactful thing towards the end of this game. Aurora taking down Team Portugal, though you can see in the kill feed, Kashira is going to be falling and also being finished off. Post-kill exactly the same. Exo Clan now, they're down on the low ground, but they're going to have to work their way in towards zone very, very soon. They won't be safe in about a minute or so's time, so they have to look for an engagement, as now we're seeing Alliance try and make their move as well.
15 squads still are left. Yes, some are down to a 2, some are down to a 1, but still 15 squads remain. Only 1 placement point for every team that's still alive at the moment. Now we're down to 14 because the Infinite will go down. Alliance start to try and make their move. The Havoc will shred through from a distance, but it's not going to be doing as much damage as you would have liked. And Alliance are just trying to stabilize at the moment.
They do have the Conduit, which is giving them a little bit more life in this fight. However, Hackett's having to hit the wall bounce and does so. Good spray to keep himself alive. Controller player in that situation is dead, but not Hackett's. ESG eliminated. August and Hungary eliminated as well. Alliance survive, and an Alliance will thrive on the edge of this zone.
But then Alliance have to move so far as the circle continues to pull southwest further towards Echo, and Alliance are currently the furthest point away from it. And we did see a few teams drop. You can see now we're down to 11 teams that remain, but the likes of Le Seat de France are still alive. Stay Healthy are holding a good position. Forge, our previous winners from Game Pump before, they're still alive, but now Go Next send in. The Havoc is doing work, but it is going to be a trade 1-for-1.
1-for-1, and now it's going to be, unfortunately, all up to Kashi to try and clutch this out for his team. The Caustic will go down, which only makes this more interesting, but now he's down to 1 HP. Can he finish this fight? He can't get the core swap, and now Alliance might be able to think about getting up onto the high ground, but at the moment, they're kind of trapped down on the low.
Alliance versus Aurora seems to be the matchup that's happening right now. A good time to jump into an Alliance listen and see what the comms are like.
Watch our back for now.
Yeah. Wait, come to me. We can play heal, boys.
Yeah, I'm saying we can
actually,
watch the back,
it should actually.
He's looking at me, he's looking at me. Yes, I need help.
No, we cannot.
I can't help you there. I gave him 50.
Get that armor. Is it your bangle?
I'm alive. Yes, mine.
Yeah.
I'm batting.
We gotta go around the corner now. Go around the corner.
One second, I'm batting right now. I'm coming now.
I got scanned.
Yeah, bad smoke.
Just look up. Come to me, look up.
Look over me. I'm batting. I have no medkits.
I'm dropping 1. I have 4 bots you need.
I'm good.
Bro, can we hold crossfire? Like just...
No, come to me. Just hold this.
But there's also a team, I think, here. Other side, no?
You think so? Can you go left?
There's a team upstairs. On the right side, other side.
Okay.
This is safe for me, guys. Come.
Okay. We gotta care stairs, though.
So Alliance down on the low ground for now, though, Dan. And usually we're kind of talking about in these situations, how do you get up to the height? Well, they are playing Horizon, so they have that grab lift available to play it late.
Yeah, but it's about where and when. How do you try and get this one? Which team do you try and send it on? Do you wait for some gunfire to happen to try and maybe take the advantage? The later you arrive could be the better in this scenario. But you can see at the moment they're just kind of checking every single angle, saying which is the best spot. But one of the downsides, and one of the reasons we were talking about earlier, why do you not play Horizon? Caustic. There is a Caustic above you, and you could just be going into gas at this point, and suddenly that push is going to be less effective. We saw how important Conduit was, though, in those moments. Unlucky just being able to give that Conduit Q to keep Hackis alive there in those moments. Otherwise, we might have seen Alliance go down.
So it starts to close. This is where things start to pick up. Alliance have the evac tower. They also have the Q available, but they're going to take the evac while the fight is going down as a third-party opportunity for them. But this is Aurora. You're trying a third-party, and they get absolutely ripped out of the sky. It's Orion who takes down Hackis, and Hackis is going to have to think about that one again, as is Effect. Aurora with those red armors now looking to go to work once more.
Yeah, Aurora just tearing through this lobby at the moment, up to second in the overall standings, and they just keep checking below them, saying, we think there was one remaining player. Someone was able to get away, and they're right. There is still an Alliance member that is alive in these final 5 squads, so there is a rat amongst everyone at the moment. But look at the amount of kills for Aurora as they just try and press up, trying to find more positioning to work with. Ultimates are going to start to fly down, and also all these teams are getting singed at the moment. This is where grenades really are good to be saved for this final circle, so you can start to deal damage to those teams arriving late.
I love the fact, by the way, that, you know, Night Impulse kind of sent it a little bit to try and get some space. Found somehow or other a safe spot to play, but maybe this is all now opened up for 202 inside the building to go forward. Alliance eliminated, Aurora out as well. Aftermath, as we have 3 squads remaining, are down to just 2, and it might be the blue shielded team from inside who come out and win this one.
Well, remember, 202 dropped down here at Echo, so this was the circle, this was their opportunity, this was their chance, but you mentioned it, they are on blue, so if this becomes a 3v3 engagement, they will be down when it comes to health, and at the moment, Forge are on purples. We saw some reds down below as well, so 202 are going to have to be careful when they do get involved in this fight.
The Forge are taking damage here, and they're exchanging damage, and you feel like 202 are just trying to bide their time here. And there's a catwall, which completely changes everything. Nobody expected that maybe a season ago, but 202 now move in. The Peacekeeper might be enough to chunk away for big damage towards the end of this game and win it, but I don't think they're going to be able to. And it's the Forge again here on Storm Point, who go back to pick up the win.
Yeah, you said we had different winners each time. Well, Forge, they wanted to change that. They wanted to try and solidify themselves at the top of this leaderboard. Another victory should do just that, or get them very close. And what was a very important circle when you have that Caustic. I knew it was going to be a Caustic team that was going to win that one just when you saw it was going to be an Echo circle, as we're starting to see more Caustics picked left, right, and center here in EMEA. Shout out to 202 for giving it a good effort. I mean, they did drop there, so you'd be expecting them to be in those final moments. But in the previous games on World's Edge, for example, I think it was Vex who dropped at Harvester. They got knocked out in like 12th position. So it's really important when the zone does come to you that you get as much points as possible.
Yeah, they really did a good job of just holding that down towards the end game. It's always fascinating. Again, I'm like, oh, it's a catwall. I forgot the catalyst exists, even though it was like the go-to pick just a few weeks ago, right? And it's like, oh, the catwall could change this. And yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't able to do so in those final moments. But still, I think it's interesting to be an IGL at this point in Apex, right? Because you're thinking, what compositions do I have to go against? It's almost the unknown, because I'm sure that they were probably thinking and poking and going, oh, they've got a catalyst. Okay, that completely changes now our in-game plan, because we have to think about that Dark Veil. It's a fascinating time to be an Apex fan and an IGL, and one of the players, on these teams at the moment who's trying to figure out what the most effective way is to play this game. And I think healthy legend meta is always healthy for everyone. It provides quite a spectacle, especially when we get to those end games.
Meanwhile, still no Pathfinder, and even though they tried as they might, you can do ring consoles and can do survey beacons, but the hitbox is just too darn big, so we're not going to see Pathfinder
cannons respawn.
Exactly.
You,
something has to happen for Pathfinder, but no, it's incredible to see the variance at the moment with legend selection. I mean, the reason we're not seeing Catalyst is because the amount of Bloodhounds. I mean, Catalyst is negated by the Bloodhound scans, so we're not seeing her as often, but when you do get into those final scenarios and suddenly it may not be a Bloodhound you're going up against, it can still have that aspect in the final circle where it could be the difference maker, just to give you that extra little bit of room in the final circle.
I've got the Pathfinder solution, everybody.
All right, hit it.
You just spawn with red armor. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, everybody.
Might be
Tell me I'm
overpowered.
wrong. Match results. Let's have a look at those before we get too deep into my brain, which is a terrifying place to go. Match 5 results are in front of us from match day number 6. The Forge on top. No surprise, we just saw them win that game. 5 kills alongside the 12 placement points. 17 points total. 202 though, like you mentioned, Dan, dropping over at Echo. They get that second place. Aurora and Alliance up there as well. And surprise, surprise, Le Site de France still in that top 10. Very well played from them.
Aurora, just so many kills, by the way. It's they're playing out of their minds at the moment. Down in the bottom 10. What a journey it was for TSM Phoenix in that game, by the way. They dropped to Jurassic. They had an early fight. Then 6 teams turned up at Jurassic on their rotations, and they weren't even able to get into the top 15. But they still picked up 2 kill points, which is very important just to keep pushing themselves up the leaderboards. But a couple of teams struggling. Cold not able to get going today, sadly, especially in that game. We've seen them a few times just losing a member and then trying to stay alive as a 2, but it's not particularly been a day to remember so far.
We'll take a look at some of the top 3 stats as well in just a few moments' time to show you how the damage has been dealt. And, well, I mean, you're looking at placement from that previous game. The Forge, not really in the position where they can say they did the most damage in that top 3, but they got into the position to win the game and do it in the most effective way. Slayer's not been able to commit to the kills column, but the assists are good enough. Is Phoenix, who really stepped up with 4 kills for his squad, especially important ones in that end game.
So important to be able to output the damage as well. I mean, even though we've seen that teams aren't focusing necessarily on damage to get those Evo shields up, they can be the difference maker, especially from blue to purple towards that end game. It's just poking and prodding for some of those teams who are arriving late. But these are the overall series results then after 5. It's Le Site de France who are still in first place. The Forge pushed themselves up to 4th now after 2 victories back to back, but still lagging behind some of the leaders like Aurora and Le Site de France. Made in Heaven still in 3rd place as well.
Well, it's very close at the top. No runaway leader at the moment. With 1 game left to go, we'll have to see who is going to come out on top at the end of it. Dan's hydrated. We suggest that you do the same, because when we get back, game number 6, our final game, goes live. We're back again, everybody, and one more game is all we have to bring you today from the EMEA Pro League here in the ALGS. Dan, it's interesting to look at those standings just before we went into the break, because it is extremely tight, and it really feels like this last game could change, you were saying, are the winners at the end of the day.
It definitely can, and what's also interesting is our 2 front runners are the 2 teams who are playing Edge very effectively. The 2 teams who we are seeing on Red Evos almost every single game, whether it be through just Evo harvesters and their pathing, or whether it's through that lifeline, of course, that we've seen Aurora using just to get that one player up onto red through an Evo cache, has been the difference maker. We mentioned it right at the top of the show, when it's down to these fine margins in pro play, that extra little bit of shield health could be massive for you when you're getting into these engagements.
Whenever you say fine margins, by the way, I don't want to bring this up because I know the Genome's probably going to be watching, but it reminds me of when England won the Cricket World Cup. It's the barest of margins.
Barest of margins.
It's a great commentary call. Anyway, let's look at the Legend Select. You can see some of the teams who are picking things up at the moment. And no surprise to see a real eclectic mix of things once again. We've got Gibby, you've got Bloodhound, you've got Watson, you've got Crypto, you've got, I mean, pretty much everything outside of Mirage. Buff Mirage, buff Pathfinder forever. Actually, don't buff Mirage. I'm terrified about what that would be.
God, that would be so tough. There's nothing more frustrating than a Mirage Ultimate, I will say. So I'm happy for him to just stay off of competitive for now. But you're right, we've got so much variety, and I love it. I love seeing people try different things. Sure, maybe the further we get into Season 20, the more settled the meta will become. But for now, it means it's absolute chaos, which is what I live and breathe for, which is what people struggle to do in these games because of Caustic. We'll have to see whether Match 6 is going to be a different scenario, though. Is it going to be a more open area circle, which means those Caustics aren't going to be as effective as they were down towards Echo?
Well, we got our customary Echo end zone. Let's see if we go somewhere else on the map. We've had one north, one south. Let's see if we've got something a little bit more central. Alliance going to be, again, winning the flight path, it looks like, and it looks like they might have just won the drop altogether. I'm not sure if Vex are going to be dropping here. It looks like they are not. So that is a completely free POI here for Alliance, and no surprise to see that. I stand corrected. I completely stand corrected. You know what? I stand corrected. Let's go to a listening because this is almost comical.
Okay. I don't have charge level.
I gave him 20.
Crack them.
Dead.
Nice.
Where's the one?
Horizon, no. Do finish for armor.
Yeah.
I just touched on. I want to find the last guy.
Here.
We got buff kills.
No.
I touched the combat.
Do finish on, okay.
I'm taking finishing.
Well, let me do it for my armor.
Alright.
Okay, he might be riding or some shit.
Yeah, I know. That's why I want to do it alone.
Well, unfortunately for Vex, one of their players gets compressed into the ethers of space. It never looked close, Dan, and I'm surprised that it even took place. However, there's another fight going down here, and Sam's with the spray with the car is making this one a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, the fight over towards Jurassic again for TSM Phoenix, and again, TSM Phoenix do come out on top against Pest Control, so they're able to win the ownership of the center of the map. But we saw in the previous game, it became the rotation hotspot. Everyone was moving through these areas, and TSM Phoenix were never really able to stabilize, and losing one player and having to deliver it to a beacon means that it's going to be troubles on the horizon potentially. As Babylon's as he tries to escape here, it's going to be not only players shooting at him, but also the elements and the spiders getting involved.
It would be one of the most memorable games in ALGS history if Vex, after that, we'll call it a contest, with Alliance lose the two players, Babylon's goes down to the PvE. I'm just saying, I'm happy that they didn't, is all I can say.
Also would be incredible if somehow Vex came back and won the game, but...
Oh, imagine.
Again, think that might be a stretch as well as, okay, we get to look at our circle, and you said we had north, we had south, and now we get something a little bit more central. Acito Station is going to be the target for a lot of these teams. Again, though, good for Caustic teams. This is going to be a somewhat more predictable zone as long as you have that ring console, and of course, Caustic allows you to scan the ring console, and then you can play there early, you can get inside some of those buildings, and you can get inside a very comfortable position.
Yeah, this is a really interesting zone, actually, these CO zones that we do see, because a lot of the time it pulls out to essentially where Stay Healthy kind of find themselves, this side of CO, but the problem with holding this, of course, is you, as I swear I'm being listened to right now, you look at the high ground, people look over you, and it's an easy line of sight for them to move in from the height, do damage, and then you get that position taken away late. One team who do that very well is Aurora from this side of the zone. Seen them win many zones on this side of CO, so I have to see if they move in a little bit later. Cold now just doing a little bit of a work themselves in and around Jurassic, trying to make their rotate, but I haven't seen Cold approaching end zones with a lot of Evo economy, I would say. It seems like a lot of the time they're kind of just working with blues towards the zone, which is making those fights in and around the end zone a little bit more tough than they need to be.
Yeah, and it could have been one of those days for Cold where the circles haven't really allowed them to move as quickly as they would have liked, so they haven't necessarily been able to utilize the ability of playing a composition like this and having the Caustic. But at the same time, the reason why you have Bang, Caustic, and Bloodhound is you don't have to play circle. You can play a little bit more freely. You can play a little bit more edge focused. But it seems like Cold have kind of got caught between the two today and haven't necessarily been able to focus the game the way they would like. And as I mentioned, it could just be circle pulls or it could just be an off day, but they've still got one more game to try and put some points on the board to try and send themselves up the leaderboard.
LVH, who are in 8th place overall at the moment, they're one of those teams who, after this game, will probably thinking we had a good day or we let it slip through our fingers, depending on how things go. A win here or a top 3, top 5 will pretty much cement themselves into the top, I would imagine, the top 6 or 5 with how close it is at the moment. Maybe even a little bit better than that, but a disappointing performance where they fall out early, they can fall out of the top 10. So that's kind of what's on the line. I love when we go into these games down with the standings are so close, so there's not a point sponge right at the top, because it means everybody still has something to play for. Everyone can completely change how their day looks at the end of the play. So Vex at the moment, they've managed to get back in the game, Dan. And I tell you what, part 1 of your, I would say it was a fiction story to start with. Might start to look a little bit more like real life.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But maybe, who knows? We'll look back at that one. We can start to call me all sorts of names when it gets a little bit closer and there's not still 19 squads remaining. But yeah, it's starting to get a little bit more hopeful, that's for sure.
You got to start somewhere, but everyone's back in. Where else did you expect?
Have to plant the seed. I will say, though, that the teams who have found themselves already in Ceto Station, I mean, we've got, what, there's maybe 10 teams that are already in Ceto. They should be able to get into the top 15 comfortably, because it's going to be the teams that are arriving late who are going to have to struggle. As ALGS and Hungry are not one of those squads, but they are a team that can certainly cause problems for the remainder of Vex and LVH, who are in the area as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, you might be right. Vex lose another player. And that's going to hurt them. So even though they are still alive, the story is looking like it won't be finished, down, so to speak. Sort of the WWE writers that had a look at that.
ALGS and Hungry are the rock. And at the moment, I was going to say they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, but they're kind of not. They are the hard place that LVH seems to be stuck between, and they're still pressing their advantage as best as they can. Notice Matafe still on the lifeline as well, so another team who's drifting over towards what we've seen a very successful Legend selection today. But LVH are just going to play on the low ground, but it does look like ALGS and Hungry really want to take this fight.
Yeah, here comes the double swing from them as well. Oh, kind of goes down, though. Kind of goes down. The swing was not good looking. And now it's up to Tyler, but they do have the lifeline, so they can at least have those guns up if they try and push off the back of this damage. Should be able to get healthy in this position, but just remember, Vex have one player alive here, just on the out. You see a bleed out coming in as well, but there is one Vex player still somewhere close. Not as close, he's actually rotated away, which takes us back into this fight. This decides it's going to be a straight 3v3 between the two. Tyler taking a little bit of an off angle to try and get some damage down. No mag on this R9 is going to make the damage output kind of a little bit staggered. Can't really hold down the trigger and really rip away his shields and health at the same time. And it looks like this 3v2 is going on a little bit too long for ALGS and Hungry to really enjoy.
Well, ALGS and Hungry, I mean, they would have been down and out if they didn't have the lifeline. We definitely can see that, so we now see the benefits of not just the care package upgrade, but also the ability to get that tippy tap, get your third player back on the feet. But also it means if you are playing with a lifeline, you can play more aggressive. You can peak a little bit more focused, because even if you do go down, you can suddenly be picked back up. And ALGS and Hungry are rewarded for their Legend selection because they win the engagement in the end. They find themselves on top, and LVH will be eliminated. So lifeline proving to be ever vital.
ALGS and Hungry, one finger in the air and say, acknowledge me, LVH. Hey, that's it for the wrestling references today, everybody, okay? Come on, let's squeeze an extra one in. TSM Phoenix now making their way towards zone. 20 seconds left until the zone does close, as we still have 18 squads remaining. A lot of teams trying to fight their way towards the zone at the moment, but boy oh boy are they in for a surprise, Dan. We thought it was going to be a Ceto zone. We thought we were going to have one of those zones in and around that POI. Well, let me tell you, it's pulling out into no man's land, and that is going to be rough for all of those teams who thought Ceto's the place to be.
It's not just us, right? The entire lobby thought this was going to be Ceto. Maybe you could say Team Portugal, Aurora, and 202 might have been like, oh, well, you know, it's not going to be Ceto. It's not going to pull it. No, they didn't have time to get into Ceto, so they were just having to play some of the outskirts, and now they are going to be thanking the Apex gods the fact that this circle is going to be pulling their way. Only 3 teams, maybe 4, if you include EXO, are going to be within that next circle once it does pull. So all of these teams in Ceto, I'm counting roughly 10, and that's just a guess because it's hard to tell with all the mumble jumble that's on the screen because they're all so close together. They all have to move from east to west, and they are all going to be not only griefing one another, but then they're going to be focused by those teams who have been able to find themselves in the circle.
I shudder to ask what mumbo jumbo is.
I mean, is it an edible dish?
I don't
Who
know
knows?
If that's your monitor that's got mumbo jumbo on it, or there's just a lot on the actual feed that you're being given. But that's a question for another day. Elsewhere, August and Hungry, as crazy as it sounds from how far away from zone they were, actually have a pretty good rotate in from the south side now. It's one of those zones where a strange zone pull kind of rewards a few teams who are playing edge and playing late. One team who's going to have to fight a very difficult fight right now is going to be TSM Phoenix because they're trying to hold out the City de France.
And it's another reason why playing edge can be kind of a benefiting factor rather than playing zone, especially on Storm Point, because the zones aren't as kind of predictable as we might see on World's Edge, and there's less area, because when it does pull away on Storm Point, it often pulls away to some of these open areas where it's no man's land. As Sabs takes quite a lot of damage, but should be able to recover just before the push comes through. Black Hole does come down from the opposing team, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to press on this one.
Yeah, TSM Phoenix are having to use all their utility here, and they just want to hold them out. The longer they hold them out, the more likely they are to win this fight, because the zone is closing and helping them out in this situation. And I think they've done a pretty good job here. You can see the scan is coming in as well. The team are going to have to send it here inside, and now they do send it. They have to get this damage down. It's their only option to move in towards zone, because zone 3 is going to burn, and City de France, they have to back up in this situation. They want to take the fight, but they have to back up, and now they have a rough rotate maybe in towards around those spider tunnels. And I mean, City de France, who've been fantastic so far today, for one of the first times, I think have just got to rethink their strategy here.
Yeah, just about. There was enough room for both of them to play, and the zone didn't kind of force them into each other. But speak of being forced in, Alliance are waiting on the other side, and they'll play cleanup crew here. And sadly for TSM Phoenix, this is not going to go well. They are eliminated, and now City de France are suddenly turning around. They do a full 360 here, a full 180 even. A 360 would be interesting, and they are going to be double checking. Well, actually, now they have done a full 360. Now they are going to be going back to where they were originally heading.
Yeah, I think they realized they didn't have the timing to get into that fight as quickly as they would have wanted, but Alliance will win that fight through the tunnel, and now they will move towards Ceto Station nice and late. Elsewhere, though, you can see AM and Go Next are having a fight, and Go Next have lost 2. Bambino, last player alive, does have the Rolling Thunder, but not inside this building. Is it can have any kind of use whatsoever, so it's about retreating for now. 16 squads still remain here, but a lot of those in the next 30 seconds or so, Dan, are going to find themselves as death boxes.
Well, it's crazy how empty Ceto Station suddenly is. There was like 12 teams there, now there's only 3. Everyone, as soon as they saw that zone shift, were like, okay, we out here ASAP. And they have moved so fast as ESG. You can try and dance off walls if you want. Lufka on the slitherest of slithers of health may be able to just stay alive, but is it going to be in vain? Are you going to actually be able to do anything here? Your aim is just trying to get into the top 15 so you can get a placement point, as Alliance now start to make their move using the evac tower, but again they're going to be flying into what could be a lot of commotion here.
Got taken out of the sky. It's Fricks with the bow check. He was really weak as he took to the sky. Took so much damage going up that evac tower and then just got picked out of the sky. It's like the Karate Kid with the chopsticks and the fly. It was a hell of a shot.
And that's what you need. Someone, if you've got a Bocek, you need someone who does have that pinpoint accuracy, because it can make the difference. And also Fricks onto red. Noxgas goes down, and it looks like they really want to be able to finish off any player that is going to be arriving from that northeast side, but they do have the building to work with as well, so they don't have to get too aggressive.
Yeah, just trying to damage these teams who are moving in and let the zone do the work for them at the moment. Everyone who's moving in at the moment knows the zone's at their back. Go Next eliminated. August and Hungry also eliminated as well. So what looked like a good walk-in for them, well, they lost a fight on their walk-in, which now means that they won't be able to participate in any more action today. ExoClan just trying to angle out all of these players, all these teams, the leftovers, the stragglers who are coming out of Ceto Station at the moment. And do that they are, and a pretty good job as well, Dan. Aftermath will be eliminated as well. ExoClan cleaning house at the moment, and this could be a really important game for them.
It could be big KP, and that might just be half to what they focus on here, because looking at where the zone is shifting, it's unlikely they're going to be able to push their way into zone and win this game. So instead, take a big opportunity here of picking up lots of kills because you have one of the most advantageous positions on this side, and there's a lot of vulnerable players that are going to be available to be picked up. These are some of them, but suddenly EXO have taken damage from behind, and Made in Heaven will just be able to hold them off with the assistance of Alliance, and now Made in Heaven, they get a second chance.
Yeah, I think there was a brutal mistake made there. The Bloodhound scan went in and one player swung just on the wrong side. Didn't realize that there was a wall between them and the team. Elsewhere, you can see Forge, I believe, had just been eliminated. And surprise, surprise, Le Site de France, only 2 of them in red this time, which makes a little bit of a difference to what we've seen so far today. But still in a position to win fights and still in a position to do damage here. Alliance also alive still in these final moments as we find ourselves down to 10 squads now. Zone 4 is about to close down. We are moving towards 202 and towards being cold in a good position as well. Passion finally in a good spot. Aurora, though, again, kind of... They're like the ghost in the night, right? You don't talk about them till the end game, and then all of a sudden, bang, Aurora arrive and scare the socks off you. Well,
it's going to be between Le Site de France and Aurora as to who's going to win this match series today. And remember, Aurora came into it #1 in the overall leaderboards in EMEA, but for Le Site de France, they're down in 11th. This is a bigger match day for them than it is for Aurora. They need this, and at the moment, they are holding the #1 spot on the day as they're just beaming whoever's trying to go for that care package. They're into the top 10. 9 squads will remain because Made in Heaven eventually do get eliminated here. But Le Site de France on the Reds are going to be another real threat coming into this final circle.
And this is going to be Aurora up on the high ground, and this could be a real turnaround of things. Cold eliminated as well. Now you're going to see Le Site de France be forced to take this high ground, and now they are going to run into Aurora. They get the first knock as well. Stay healthy will be eliminated. Le Site de France, with the Horizon Q, should be able to survive any barrages coming in at the moment, and now they've slowed down. Having picked the pace up, they slow it down just in time. Now they're safe. Alliance were eliminated while all of that was going down on the other side of zone.
Yeah, and Aurora on the other side of the rock to Le Site de France now, so our 2 leaders and our 2 teams who have a chance to win this match week are right next to each other, but not quite enough, not quite close enough to be able to fight. But Aurora are having a little peek at this one. There's one member of Aurora who is trying to get into a position, it's 9 Impulse, I think, to maybe have a look at Le Site de France, but we can see the armor difference. The Reds are going to be huge again for LCDF, but we've also got Team Portugal, who are dead center in the zone, and it's something they were doing very well in World's Edge, and they still have a chance to be having a very successful week. They're in 3rd position at the moment. There maybe is still a chance that Team Portugal could sneak this one away from Aurora and Le Site de France. It's unlikely, though. They would need to get every kill left in this lobby.
Oh my goodness. I mentioned how Aurora likes to be the ghost in the night. Well, they're coming right up behind Le Site de France. Bangol's going to go down. They didn't get that first knock, though, so they're going to have to retreat. Hardeki does get the knock, though, so now they can take their time. Now they can eat a little bit of damage from this Bangol, but Aurane goes down in the meantime, just as they were trying to escape, and I wonder if this is now going to be a trade. But they do have the lifeline, which means they can get back up. He can get into zone. He's not going to be taken down. Aurane will survive here, and Aurora will survive. Le Site de France will be eliminated, and somehow, thanks again to the lifeline, Aurora stand tall.
And now Cité de France just need to hope that Aurora are the next team to be eliminated here on their rotation. But Team Portugal are holding down Central Zone.
Team Portugal trying to hold things down. They have been center zone so many times so far today. The problem is they haven't been able to convert it into wins. Losing one is going to make this more difficult as well. Another player comes in to try and take that spot away. Portugal will be eliminated again. 3 squads now remaining. Aurora up on the God Rock. 2 players from 202 trying to hold it down. But it's the 3 of Aurora who are moving in again here, Dan, to try and claim victory.
And Aurora just need one more point to catch up with Le Cite de France, who are in first. So if one more squad wipe, even one more kill here would do it for them. And they look like they're in prime position because again they're on reds. Again they're third partying. And again it's Aurora dominating. And they push themselves into first place, and they will win this match week, and they will again assert their dominance in this region.
First place coming into today, first place going out of it as well. Aurora have looked terrifying at times, dominating the EMEA region here. And I've got to say, the lifeline pick, Dan, might have been the difference for them a few times today, not just in this one game that we saw. It could have been so different if Oirane had been taken down and they couldn't have got him up just before that zone started to close.
And we also saw it, I mean, even for August and Hungary also running Lifeline, they wouldn't have won their fight if it were not for that Lifeline pick as well. But then you've got to look at the benefits of being able to get one of your players potentially up to red nice and early, and then also getting the red weapon from the care package too. if I'm North America, if I'm the North American teams, I'm watching EMEA and I'm saying, all right, do we maybe consider the lifeline here? Because we've just seen several teams be able to pick her up, and most importantly, the winning team of Aurora show the real benefits of what lifeline could do if played correctly.
It's just a few of those moments, right? It's the reset capability, I think, is what's so impressive, and the lack of downtime when you're forced to res, right? It's just a tap. You don't have to be out of the fight as a 2. You can hold, you can get a knock yourself as a 2 on one player trying to fly in to finish off damage. And by the time you've done that, the other player's back on their feet with a gun up. And even though they might not have much HP, they can participate in the fight and they can output damage and allow you to reset. So Lifeline, you know, before we even go into the care package, certainly is showing that there is value in these team fights, especially when you're approaching from the edge of zone. And I think we've seen it today. Lifeline is back. Lifeline is a real option for these teams who are playing edge. And I got to say, it's creative and I'm kind of here for it.
But also we have to talk about the playstyle of Aurora and what they were able to do against La Cité de France. They knew La Cité de France or a team was on the other side of the rock. They could have played it slow. They could have played their side. They could have walked into the zone, but they made a risky play. They made a game-winning play. And it was by just creeping around, trying to get the jump, trying to get the surprise. And even though the 3-2-1 didn't work initially, they did enough damage to at least be able to say, okay, we can commit to this fight. And then they had the benefits afterwards.
Well, it's impressive stuff from Aurora, and one thing that we do know, of course, with that win in the last game is they will take home first place today. And I think everybody is always excited about Aurora, the way they play the game, the way that they are, you know, willing to take 3v3 engagements, and the way that they play this hard edge zone. And you always know, like, wherever you are on the map, that Aurora at some point are probably, you know, behind you and about to approach. You have to constantly be aware if you're on their side of the zone. But I think the most thing that everyone's looking forward to, right, is if Aurora qualify for Split 1 playoffs and they get to LAN again, are they going to be able to outperform what they've done before? Because, I mean, we all know the turbulent story of what happened at the last event, the Champs, which was, you know, completely out of anyone's playbook. If you would have known that was going to happen, then, yeah, you're probably Dan Gaskin, you can see the future. But it's again, a team who is exciting, and I think that everyone is going to hope that they can do the same when it comes to those LAN events. As we do take a look at our match 6 results here. Aurora on top, 21 points, 9 kills to close it out. 202, another strong performance, Dan, coming in second place.
I think our biggest takeaway from this, and not just Aurora, but La Cité de France as well, is the ability to play edge and to be farming the Evo as best as you can, whether it be through utilizing those Evo harvesters, whether it be finding care packages, whether it be fighting spiders or being in trials. Of course, we saw LCDF having the benefit from that in World's Edge. Edge works well if you know how to then play that final circle and position yourself, which is what both of those teams were doing successfully. We did see teams playing zone find success as well, but perhaps weren't picking up as many points as they could have. I mean, there's a few teams here who had the chance of kind of hunkering down in their drop location and the zone pulling towards them, and they weren't able to pick up those big game points and find themselves at the top of the leaderboards. Instead, you look at the bottom half of this leaderboard for that game. You've got a few teams again who had early fights but then struggled afterwards. Vex with the contest, it was an interesting decision the way they tried to drop that one over towards Lightning Rod. Didn't work out for them. TSM Phoenix struggled a little bit, dropping over towards Jurassic. There was just a lot of teams who weren't able to get going today, and that is a shame because we have had so many match weeks now that we're getting to crunch time, and Reindeer, you said it, 66% through? Yeah. And now we're going to see teams who are not going to have much time to make up for that.
Yeah, you're going to have a strong back third of this Pro League if you want to make it to LAN, if you haven't performed yet. The good news is there are some teams kind of like Forge that we'll talk about here that have showed up, that have made some really nice moves, and I think at the exact right time. You can't blame BNC for having waited to play their second of this round robin today, and so I think that ultimately means that we may see these results shift. I'm excited to see these overall standings, although we kind of know what ended up happening overall in this day, and it was clearly Aurora with a big win over LCDF that then pushed on and capitalized on it. But yeah, I mean, what a fantastic showcase for us all watching this first glimpse of Pro League in season 20. We've seen different legends, and one of the things we did not have on our guest list was Lifeline coming in. I personally was really unaware of this change, especially on Aurora's side and a player like Hardeki, but it has worked well. It has shown that what they've tried to do with Lifeline, make her utility that much more impactful for players. All the little things, bringing down the care package faster, more reliably, having the right things in it. It's now made a big difference with the absence of traditional shield leveling by swapping. So I cannot wait to see more of that. But let's walk through how this day transpired in the back half. Mark, you and I were casting this one. Game 4 for me was a big opportunity, and it was one where we were going to see teams either take a little moment and make history out of it, and in history I mean this game, or be, you know, overwhelmed by it. And we saw Aftermath fight against Forge. They were overwhelmed. They ended up falling out in 19th place. Forge, they held strong with only 2 members, and they were able to withstand this barrage from Zidane, Zycop, and Kiner on Lecite de France and hold down this base. It was great thinking to rotate quickly, abandon that spot, use the cover in the distance, and swing out as 2. This was a beautiful ultimate, though, at the very end of it. It really secured it, taking down Zidane, the first kill for that squad, and Psychop, try as best as he can, was not able to finish it. Forge got that W, and that would send them into a great position for the rest of the 2 games. But Game 5, it wouldn't be theirs, but they would show up.
It certainly would indeed. I mean, match 5, they were involved in this end game as well. And 202, who dropped over here at the POI, you know, this is their POI. No surprise to see them know the best place to play and be able to get that priority position. They're involved in the end game, but it's the Forge who ended up actually going back to back here. And the one thing, having watched so many games and scrims, that I probably didn't have my bingo card again, was a catwalk going down in the end game. It's almost surprised to see something fall out of the meta and everyone trying something different, and then when Pro League comes around, people picking it back up. You know, you saw 202 put that catwalk down. They secure second place, but they're not able to quite do the damage that was needed to turn it into a first place. And the Forge not only winning game number 4, but going back to back and winning game 5 as well.
And obviously in Game 6, this is a big one here. Dan, you just cast this through, but you know, the benefits not just of Lifeline, but the execution of the team fighting that happened here for Aurora. It wasn't easy to get out of it, but they ended up capitalizing. And sometimes it's just the timing of showing up to a fight late that really makes a difference.
And the benefit of having a Lifeline on your team, I mentioned it during the cast, is you can play a little bit more aggressive. You can overpeak for excessive damage, knowing that your team will be able to finish off that player, and then you can be tapped by the Lifeline. And what Lifeline does is it forces the other team to be proactive. They have to push you, and then you can set up angles to almost ambush them as they try and get aggressive, and it just allows for fights to be taken an entirely different way. And I love how Aurora have been playing today, alongside the way they've been harvesting those Evos and making sure they get to purples as quickly as possible, and often were ending on reds, and it really was the difference maker. But it's not the only reason why they won. They were playing as a team, they were targeting correctly, they were all focusing on the same things, and I cannot stress enough how well Aurora played today. But we also have to mention Lecite de France. They were unbelievable as well at doing the same thing, only 6 points short of first place. They were the 2 winners in my eyes.
Yeah, those 2 teams absolutely dominated. Team Portugal, they had a really great start, but teams like Portugal Alliance, even Made in Heaven and Forge specifically I've been highlighting today, because it's not often we highlight this team, but they've been in this league for so long and kind of on the precipice. The thing is, they've won twice, and you look at these teams like Made in Heaven, who have also gotten a win. Team Portugal, who have been in these final zones so often. One of the issues that I have with these teams in terms of what they need to do to get to the next level is take 2 wins and then take the entire day. Because most of the time, you look at a lot of these juggernaut teams, if you put Lecite de France in that position, Aurora in that position, if they get 2 wins, they're probably winning by 20, 30 points over the rest of the lobby. So these teams, although they're doing a good job of getting into these end zones, it's the little things like harvesting the Evos, taking the fights early on, getting to those end games with 6, 7 KP to turn that into 12, 14, so that when they win, they're getting 26-point games, not 16-point wins. That starts to be, over a course of 2 games, a 20-point difference over the rest of the lobby. So I think those little moments are what we're really going to have to see if they want to make a change. Of course, it's going to be Aurora and LCDF trying to stop them. As we look at the overall standings in EMEA after the end of match day 6, it is Aurora, who not are 20, but 30 points ahead of the second place team, Element 6, and 07, the third, who did not play today. Orglis and Hungary have a pretty good showcase, and after 4 tied up with their region, sit in 4th. Made in Heaven today, Mark, their position has improved, and they've put themselves in a really good spot heading into the back half of this.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how tight it is, though. This is the big thing that I just want to highlight to everyone. Aurora with a win today. They've played 4 series. Everyone has played 4 series now, so this is a really good kind of outline of how everything is looking. 96 points. They are 30 points ahead. You can pretty much say that they have qualified, you would imagine, for the Split 1 playoffs with that kind of points total. But everyone else, it is so tight. There is no discernible gap between the teams. You know, 3 points between second and third, then 1 point. It's so close as we move into the second page as well.
Dan, I mean, honestly, this is kind of where you look at teams that have done well. I think you look at Forge, we've highlighted them a lot. LVH, they were in the mixed team. Portugal, right on that precipice. 50 points, you are certainly there. But when you start looking at ESG and Infinite, do you get worried a bit?
You do definitely get worried that maybe you could have a team that just has kind of a better final third of this season and they're able to pip you because you haven't really been able to get going yourself. And that naturally might make you play a little bit differently when you get into your third half. Well, sorry, your third. There isn't a half.
third.
But you are going to be able to see players change things a little bit, whether that be your composition. Are we going to see people start to copycat a little bit? Suddenly more lifelines start to come into the equation. Do you get more aggressive? Are you going to start to try and take more fights? All these things are going to go into your head about how you want to approach your final 2 match weeks when you are in this kind of position. And then it gets even worse when you are down into the bottom 10 here, because those like ExoClan, 40% worse, Red Dragon, Pest Control, they have to be proactive. They have to be aggressive. They have to look for kills, because if they try and play this too slowly and they allow things to slip through their fingers, they will regret the fact that they didn't put themselves in a position to at least attempt something that could maybe change things and change their future.
And, you know, also you look at Mind, you look at EXO, you look at EXO, but you look at EXO and TSM, they played today. Mine, 40% worse. Red Dragon, they have not played in Season 20 yet. So maybe that's the kind of hope that they would have. Maybe this season gives us something that we need to really help us into moving forward. But of course, these overall standings, very, very difficult to take a look at. And I think when you really, look at this, guys, there's been one team that's been at the top. And as I'm now back watching, Season 19, Season 20, Season 35, whatever season it is, there's always going to be somebody who stands out. And it's not Lifeline this time around, although Hardeki did great and that legend was fun. You do have to shout out another player who's been doing it across regions, across teams, and now has maybe found that third that would make the difference. It is 9 Impulse on the Bangalore representing. We had Shiv in the midday EMEA halftime show representing his Bangalore and his thoughts. Well, Aurora and 9 Impulse, they've been doing it all day long, fighting around that care package, certainly getting a lot of support from Hardeki and OJ Rain. There's no doubt about that. But the way that 9 Impulse was maneuvering, it's a difficult position to be in this kind of, I can be aggressive, but I also have to play the majority of the utility role in terms of fights for my team, whether I'm getting aggressive with my smokes, whether I'm making the decision to throw it on us. How are we taking these fights? I have to make that call, especially for Rolling Thunders, and 9 Impulse doing it effectively again and again and again. That is a leader. That is someone who has performed again and again. And I think 14 kills, 10 assists certainly puts them in the category of MVP for today. Aurora taking the win, 9 Impulse being a big part of that. And this squad looking better than we have ever seen them. And we've seen them look very, very good for a very long time. But of course, that is not necessarily going to be the only person that we talk about or talk to in this show. Congratulations to Aurora for the win, but a team right beneath them, very close to taking the W today, was Licite de France. And we've got a member of Licite de France, Psychop, waiting by to talk with us today. Psychop, thanks for joining us.
Hello. How are you?
Hey. Psychop, we're doing great. How are you doing? I want to first ask you, congratulations on today's performance. And how was your success found today? What did you guys do that was working so well today? Because you were in the lead up until the very last fight of this entire tournament. And obviously, Season 20 has been something you guys have navigated really, really well.
To be honest, it's just hard work is paying off. Nothing else. We've just been screaming all days, even 2 days, 2 blocks per day. We just grind the game from like a long time ago, We play a lot, we work on each other, we talk about our mistake a lot, and today we didn't do a lot of them, but some of them cost us the win, We could have won, or I was better today, but we did well. I'm happy with what we done.
Actually leads into my first question pretty well. Firstly, bonjour mes amis. That is all of my French. I've tried my best.
Bonjour.
I wanted to ask about that last game, right? Because it's a bit of a bittersweet end, I can imagine, for you guys. Because you played so well all day today. And then the final game, you're in a position where you win that game. You're in a great spot. You probably take home first place. And you get wrapped by Aurora. Firstly, did you know it was Aurora? And secondly, how was your head at the end of the day? Are you happy you got second? Or are you frustrated that you missed out on first?
Okay, so how it happened, it was we won the fight that gave us this position. So we were super happy. we were looking for positions to play after when the zone was closing, and we completely forgot that they could wrap around on the zone. And when it happened, Zidane died instantly. Unlucky, he got one tapped. But we were so like, it was so frustrating because we saw the lifeline in the skin, so we were like, oh no, bro. Oh, it's them, bro, no. And then we knew. So yeah, we're a lot of frustration that we couldn't do first because we were here for that, and we do, I don't know what, 70 points, they do even more. I mean, at this point, you know, they deserve it, but next time, all I'm saying is, you know, we will do better, okay? Next time is our.
I mean, certainly with the way you've been playing was phenomenal today. You seem to be on red Evo every single time you went onto your screen towards the late game. Talk me through your ideologies of your rotations, your pathing, because you were dropping trials on World's Edge, so you have that ability to get the upgrades early, but what do you try and prioritize? Is it survey beacons? Is it bins? Is it everything? What's your game like?
It's kinda both, to be honest. We just like scan the beacons so we can see which harvester we can take. Then we just take them until we have good armors, and then we just roll on the game. We have some rotations that we do for the zones we know. So when we don't know the zone, we improvise like anyone. But we have a lot of macro, you know, for a lot of zones, and we just do them. We all know them, so we work on them every day. That's it.
Well,
so we take evos and we kill people. And
I mean, it sounds so simple when you say it, but I know everyone else is going, but there's got to be more to it. You get the evos and you kill everybody. All right, well, hey, we'll try to put that into practice. I'm sure teams now know the secret. They'll try to copy you as well. Psychop, thank you so much for joining us on broadcast. Good luck with the rest of the season. You guys are killing it, and continue to represent France proudly.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. See you.
All right, Psychop from Le Site de France. Awesome having them. Final thoughts, Mark. I mean, this has been a great day. Season 20, so many changes, but it's still the same old Apex we love. It's just got some really exciting tweaks, and for the first time ever, you know, it feels like Lifeline's maybe a legitimate pick here in the upcoming meta.
Yeah, for sure. I think Lifeline has that influence on endgames, on fights, which is everything that you want her to do, and something that we've been talking about a lot today is, you know, her influence on harvesting those evos up as well. So certainly a place in the meta. We've seen that today. I think we've seen a couple of breakaway teams in EMEA as well. I think undoubtedly Aurora have looked exceptional, as they usually do. I felt like today was an Aurora day with some of the teams that we did have in the lobby. I think Alliance looked a lot better with Unlucky as well. They looked a little bit more confident than they have in previous weeks. So they're going to just get stronger and stronger. And of course, we just heard from, you know, Psychop from Le Site de France. I've been really impressed with them. I feel that they're building momentum at just the right time too. It's been a great day, and I think you summed it up perfectly, right? It's the same Apex that we know and love, but it's not. It's a little bit different, and there's a lot more to take into consideration for teams and IGLs at the moment.
Dan, Mark put it well. What do you have to say? Day one here, really it's day 6, but day one of this new same old Apex that we've loved and grown to see.
One thing we learned today, mouse and keyboard, right? We had Aurora, 3 MNK players. They're the ones getting it done. No controller player to be seen. I just want to say, I will happily fuel that argument, and I will continue to do so. But to see 3 MNK players find that success is always going to show how incredible they played today and how much deeper they thought about how they want to plan their rotations, how they want to upgrade their evos. But then even when they got into the fights, they were still doing that damage. Very impressed with how they played. And MNK rules supreme in EMEA today so far.
Well, gentlemen, great job today. I know you've done a great start to it, but we're only halfway through ourselves. We've got another show coming up after this, but I'll let you go for now. Thanks so much for everything. Onset and Gaskin, ladies and gentlemen. As we look to close out today, we've got more coming up. EMEA gave us our first glimpse of what Season 20 might look like in in that region. But in North America, you'll have a chance to see some very familiar names go at it, like Dark Zero, Jin Burton, and Zero going at the new meta. Will they bring something a little bit different, or will they continue to just hit headshots and headshots with a Kraber like you see there? Maybe not a headshot there, but at least a body shot doing enough for Jin Burton and the boys to push. Moist as well. I mean, one player that has absolutely been on my mind is Waltzy and how good he has played. But maybe more of the interesting topic is how he keeps saying that Gilderson's might just be the best Apex Legends player in the world. If you haven't seen a clip where Waltzy's exclaiming that at the end of a fight, well, you haven't seen many moist clips lately. And of course, the return of his Watson, it feels like old news because he's back from retirement, but he is back and doing so much more than you would expect. Furia looking like heroes potentially of North America. Can they do what they did just a few years ago and rival for first place at championships? Well, they've got to be there. Make sure as well you're following everything Apex Esports to get in touch with all of our updates, whether it's at twitch.tv/playapex, Play Apex Esports on X, or Play Apex on YouTube. Thank you so much to everybody who's been a part of this broadcast. Guess what? We have got more action coming up. My name is Rainday, and don't go anywhere. Remember to never give up, never stop gaming. North America is on after this.